You damn right. Hope everybody is having a good Monday. If you're a Longhorn basketball fan, nice weekend to finish off the regular season. Big 12 tournament on the way. Selection Sunday coming up. Big tournament coming up. We'll get into all of that. Combine finishing up. Did you watch everything from Indianapolis? Did you get into the freak show? Because, man, there were some good freaky performances there. And it included a Longhorn running back that we knew would impress, that impressed, and another Longhorn running back that we thought would be pretty impressive, and he was that. A lot of things to get into on this Monday. It's Chad and Zay. I'm Chad Hastings, joined once again by Isaiah Collier. What's up, Zay?
Chad, what's up, dog? Happy Monday, everybody. Texas Tech fans, where that energy at that y'all were giving us in December? Where it at? Where it at? I need that same energy because y'all were all over us and then some.
Texas Tech basketball fans did have a strange weekend. How long has this stuff been going on, by the way? I've been following games and trying to, deal with actual sports. How long have we been having a soap opera at practice between the coach and his players and little theology discussions? How long has this been going on in Lubbock?
Guess it's been going on for a minute now.
Now, I know they are into their theology out in Lubbock. I mean, the chicks would tell you that there are a few churches out there. I mean, they'll get into it. So Coach Adams was definitely a part of that, apparently. We got that story going on in the Big 12. We've got an all Big 12 team to talk about. Of course, Texas finishing off the regular season against Kansas. Also, we got a couple guests coming up for you. 105, Joe Cook, Inside Texas, our normal Monday visit. We also grabbed a national basketball guest to discuss things at 2. His name is Scott Spinelli of the Believe Podcast Network. He's a former BC interim head coach, so he knows his hoops. He's an analyst for Believe right now. We'll get his national thoughts. He's a host of a show called The Breakdown, and we'll get his thoughts on where Texas fits in for him, get a national perspective on the Longhorns, on Houston, and some other things. I guess, Zay, maybe we start off with a real quick congrats for a local legend that hit a big shot over the weekend. Can we give Jamal Shead a little love?
That was huge.
How about that to finish the game against Memphis? And I don't know if you and I get any credit for it, but finally the national media has learned how to say his name. I heard it pronounced correctly throughout all of yesterday.
Yeah, they might have a number 1 overall seed. Let's get the main point guard his name right.
Yeah, they're getting it right now. So congratulations to ESPN and everybody else that was covering it, and mainly congrats to Jamal Shead. What a moment. Don't call the timeout. Come down the floor. Let your point guard figure it out, and he hangs in the air and buries it on Memphis's floor. Yeah. That was big time.
Yeah, man. Him and Sasser, they're about as good as a backcourt as you'll see in the nation. And then you look at Walker, who might be a lottery pick, and all the athleticism that Kelvin Sampson has. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people took them to win the national championship.
Yeah, they're going to be one. And that's another thing I want to ask Scott Spinelli about, get that national perspective on Houston. Just how good does he think they'll be? And at this point, have they locked down a 1 seed?
I don't think so. I think a lot depends on what happens in these conference tournaments coming up this weekend.
Yeah, so they'll still need a win or 2.
I mean, they definitely can't lose. And I think they have to win the AAC tournament because Kansas, even though they lost to Texas on Saturday, if they win the Big 12 tournament, I don't know how you not give them a number 1 overall seed when they already have 15 quad 1 wins.
Yeah. And Saturday gets Texas up to, is it 11?
Yes.
Quad 1s?
Yeah, 11 and 8, quad 1.
Just a nice finish to the season. So we'll get to the Longhorns beating Kansas. Also, we'll start with a congratulations for Coach Schaefer and his team. They win the Big 12 regular season.
That's what I'm talking about, Coach.
Going to Kansas State and getting the win at the end of the year. Zay, there's
somebody that uses his faith in the right way when he talks to his players.
There you go.
And people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, not like that guy in Lubbock.
So I am glad that Texas is getting out of the Big 12 for multiple reasons, but one of my biggest pet peeves is this basketball setup. I've never understood why they do it this way. If you have a basketball conference where everybody plays the home and home, and you sweep somebody, and then you end up tied, the tiebreaker's obvious. Texas is the regular season Big 12 champions. The Oklahoma women's team does not get a trophy. They shouldn't get a mention. They shouldn't get a thing. Y'all, Texas beat Oklahoma by 42 combined in those games.
Smacked them.
Didn't just beat them, dump trucked them twice. And yet there are 2 trophies. It makes no sense. I've never understood it. And once Texas and Oklahoma get to the SEC, they're going to have to figure out, how many conference games do you play in basketball? Right now, the SEC doesn't let you can't play everybody home and home. So based on some of that, the chance of the schedule, you might need to have 2 trophies, and I get that sometimes, but I've never understood it here. If you split, that's different. Texas beat them both times. They are the champs. I don't know why Oklahoma gets a trophy. But anyway, that's just my OCD.
Yeah,
speaking.
When Moore went out with her injury early on, you didn't know what this team could be. I mean, you knew they would be good, but that was when Moore was in the lineup. Then she gets hurt. So Vic Schaefer, they've had to do some shuffling around, and I think they finally found a lineup that he's comfortable with going into the tournament. I mean, we know everything starts with Rory Harmon. She's on triple-double watch, seems like every game. I will continue to say the BYU transfer, Shaylee Gonzalez, has been huge this year. She's the leading scorer for around 13 a game. Gastey, she's going to get after it down low. And then back to Coach Schaefer and the coaching staff that they have with his daughter and, everybody that just brings everything to the table. This is why they're a very good ball club, and he gets the most out of those girls. And the way they play, they get after it, like full 94 feet. Just the defense is always on point, and as long as they make good decisions offensively, we know Shea Holly could come off the bench and hit shots. Then they got a bigger chance as anybody. But we know Kim Mulkey doing her thing in Baton Rouge. We know Don Staley has been just a juggernaut with South Carolina. Those teams are always tough, but Texas, they can play right there with them.
All right, and before we get to the Texas men, we had a listener on the text line jumping all over me because I hadn't mentioned it yet. A little bit of patience, but thank you for the...
Yeah, it's a long show. We just started.
Thank you for the reminder, albeit a rude reminder. There was, one particular sad thing that I saw over the weekend I couldn't believe. One of the big names in Longhorn baseball, especially that early 2000s era, Jeff Ontiveros, and a local legend too. Jeff Ontiveros died over the weekend.
Wow.
I was so sorry to see, man. Jeff Ontiveros, part of that incredible Round Rock baseball community, and then ends up as a Longhorn and was part of some incredible games there with the Longhorns getting a national championship. He would have been a part of that 2002 group for sure.
Yeah, he had 20 home runs that year.
He was amazing. And he made one of the best plays I've ever seen in that Rice game. That was a critical game in their run. So thank you for that reminder. Yes, rest in peace, the great Jeff Ontiveros. That was a really sad thing to see over the weekend. All right, Zay, so big time atmosphere at the Moody Center once again. Longhorns close the doors on the Moody Center for this season with a big win, 75-59. Not often you play Kansas and say it was never close. I guess we had a couple of those this year with Kansas. When TCU went to Allen Fieldhouse, it was kind of a never close. But this game just felt like Texas had it the whole way to me. I thought they got off to a great start. Kansas seemed to start a little bit flat in this game, and Texas never let them back in it.
Yeah, and to all the people that think Kansas wasn't locked into this game because they already secured a Big 12 championship, that's not a real thing. Bill Self's a Hall of Fame coach for a reason. He understands that there's a bigger picture, and he understands that you want to be playing your best basketball against high-quality teams during this time of the year. So they might have still had a little bit of champagne on their breath. When you burp and you can still taste that champagne from the other night, they might have had that moment for sure. And they have every right to celebrate, the way that they did when they beat Texas Tech. But the Texas Longhorn basketball team, Coach Terry and this staff, they came in with a plan. They executed that to the T. And when you have Timmy Allen only have 6 points and Marcus Carr only have 6 points, both of those guys combined for 12, and you win by that amount, by 16 points, against a team that might have an overall seed, which that's what Kansas is also playing for, a number 1 overall seed. Mm-hmm. Why is that so important? Because you get to choose where you play in the first 4 games. You get to choose the local game you play in the first weekend, and then you get to choose what region you go to, which Iowa is one of the regions, which that's what Bill Self would want, because that's, right by the state. So they were playing hard. They have something to play for. And, man, Tyrese Hunter, the way that they jumped on them early in that first half, talk about the aggression, like 9 free throws for him, 9 for 10, made them all. I talk about free throws all the time. If you shoot more free throws or if you make more free throws than the other team shoots, you got a good chance of winning. The Horns made 19, Kansas only shot 15. That shows the aggressor every single time. The Horns, they didn't turn the ball over around 7. Take that.
Dude, plus 12 assist to turnover.
Yeah.
That's big.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And again, Tyrese Hunter, how aggressive he was, getting into the lane, going at guys like Grady Dick. We haven't seen that all year long. He's in a way settled for a shot. When Marcus Carr isn't going, you have to have at least 2 out of those 3 guards, Rice, Hunter, and Carr. They have to play well in order for the Horns to succeed. Majority of the year, it's been Sir'Jabari Rice and Marcus Carr. Now, with teams focusing on Marcus Carr and him being a little fatigued due to him, kind of carrying the guards in the starting lineup throughout the whole year, being first team all Big 12, now Tyrese Hunter is coming along. And people forget, go watch Iowa State last year in the tournament. Tyrese Hunter was their best player. So he might have just been looking forward to tournament time. And then once March hit, he was like, all right, now time for me to step up, time for me to hoop. And I love what Sir'Jabari Rice said after the game on the podium, how hard he sees Tyrese Hunter working. Everybody, including myself, we've been killing them all year long because we just haven't seen that hype that we were supposed to see from the Wisconsin native. We just haven't seen it. And we saw it at the beginning of the year against Creighton and Gonzaga, and now we're starting to see it at the end of the year. So that team that you saw on Saturday, that's the team that can get to the Final Four. That's why I'll be joking with you and Jeff Howe talking about we got our rooms already by getting down there. That's what I mean. That's what we're supposed to see. And these last 2 games against TCU and whatnot, like we haven't seen that. And yes, a lot goes to the crowd, goes to the mood. I mean, 16-1, they were incredible this year. This is the home environment and the advantage that you need to have in college basketball. And the game that they lost to Kansas State, they put up 100 points. So they always shot well at this place, So the bigs were huge. Christian Bishop, that was the best game he's played since Kansas State. Since he had that 14 points in the second half to lead the Horns and that comeback win against Jerome Tang's team, and now he needs to relax on trying to do that windmill and stuff. I'm just glad he didn't tear something. That was brutal. I get what he was trying to do. He was trying to rock the crowd. This is the last time you're going to play out the mood. I get what he was trying to do, but I'm just glad he's healthy and got out of that. Yeah. But, man, again, Tyrese Hunter and then Sir'Jabari Rice, the moves that he was putting on. Man. Like, when I tell y'all, he reminds me of Drew Holiday. When he's cooking, those were a lot of Drew Holiday type moves. Like, he had Jalen Wilson on the blender with that little fake spin, or he had a little fake move to the middle on the baseline, and his back was towards the rim, and then he went towards the baseline. Fake. Like, I'm getting sped up just thinking about it because it was so nasty. Then he had a little fake pass layup after the game. I thought he was going to dunk on somebody for an and one finish.
That was close.
It was close. He got up there, and then he got bodied. He was like, I'm a little thin up here. Maybe I should turn this ball around and lay it
Good
up.
Adjustment, though.
Great adjustment. Great nice. Body control. Then the threes that he hit, he was absolutely cooking. He had that fadeaway jumper on the baseline, little turnaround. Like, he was in his bag. It was Goyard, Louis Vuitton, whatever you want. He was in his bag on Saturday, and you need all of that. With Marcus Carr struggling right now, which I get it. Now teams are locking in on him. People are thinking, Tyrese Hunter, he ain't going to be the aggressor. He's going to try to be a point guard that's looking to pass and, work his defense. If Tyrese Hunter has that mindset that he had on Saturday against Kansas throughout the tournament, no matter if Marcus Carr doesn't play well or not, Texas is still in good shape. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen that type of Tyrese Hunter. These last few games, he's starting to bring it a little more against Baylor and TCU. He's starting to bring it a little more. But, man, you need that type of Tyrese Hunter. That's what we've been banking on all year long, Chad. We've been waiting on it. Dylan Mitchell was good. The 14 points he gave you, that was one of his best games this year. Had that nice alley-oop. Then after that, the alley-oop came to Tyrese Hunter. Arterio Morris had that nice steal that led to the Sir'Jabari Rice dunk. And then he had that after the offensive rebound by Christian Bishop, he had that huge three. So they gave you just enough. They don't have to give you a ton, but they gave you just enough where you feel comfortable playing them if you're Rodney Terry. So, yeah, I love the game on Saturday. that should give this team a lot of momentum and a lot of confidence going into the Big 12 tournament where they need to play their hardest. Like, I know people are thinking, the Big 12 tournament. I know Rick Barnes talked about him hating the Big 12 tournament. Well, I love you, Rick, but you ain't got no rings in your belt. So you saying that, I think about stuff like that. Like, I ain't no winner's mentality. Bill Self going to come out there ready for war. He going to come out there in Kansas City talking, we trying to win this thing, and we going to have the home court advantage being in Kansas City? Please. And we looking for a number 1 overall seed? Please. They just won it last year, ended up winning the national championship.
Yep.
So go for it.
By the way, I do like kind of how this bracket sets up for Texas. If you haven't seen it, Texas is the number 2 seed. They will play Thursday at 6, and they will play the winner of Bedlam. So their first matchup will be against a team that doesn't necessarily have a bunch of fans right there. I think that's good. So based on the way it's set up, Texas would have to play that winner. Then if they advance, they would play K-State. But Kansas and Iowa State are on the other side of the bracket, meaning they won't play both.
Right.
They're guaranteed not to play Iowa State and Kansas. They would have to play one of them, but not both of them. So,
you're going to get 3 hard. If you win the championship, it's going to be the 3 toughest days ever.
Yeah, but at least that first one's against a team that's not right there in the region, and we'll see which one of those teams wins between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. So the Longhorns get the 2 seed. The setup, you mentioned the momentum, Zay. Let's see if they can carry all that good feeling out of the Moody Center. It was so much good news on Saturday. The only bad news I've got is they don't get to play there anymore.
For sure.
That place, if they get up on you, it's so incredibly hard for teams to come back on them. But I loved the smiles. I loved the energy. I loved the fact that multiple guys seem to have fun playing basketball. Have we seen a game all year where Rice, Morris, and Hunter looked like they were having that much fun at the same time?
It was a blast.
I don't know if I've seen those 3 guys happy at the same time, and all that energy was so cool, and it fed. Marcus Carr is always going to find a way to have a good time. He's got that energy, that leadership, positive energy that'll come from him. Now let's see if they can carry that into these neutral site games and at times not so neutral site games if you're facing a Kansas or Kansas State.
That was an arrogant bunch on Saturday.
It was.
That was an arrogant bunch like, hey, we don't care who y'all are. We don't care how good y'all are supposed to be or the name across that jersey or who y'all have on that sidelines. Y'all can't muck with us today.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all can't. Now, y'all used to clown us about having a horrible atmosphere and stuff like that when y'all used to come down to the drum and stuff. Well, we might not have the history of Allen Fieldhouse, but it gonna get loud up here.
Yeah, and I know
real loud.
I know there's a lot of fans right now that are bagging on Dick Vitale for different reasons, and in his older age, and the broadcast has gotten a little strange sometimes. Did you hear his reaction to the place, though? Have you listened to him talk about Moody Center this year?
I thought that was one of Dick's best games in a long time on Saturday.
All the national guys have been giving it love throughout the season, and I'm with you. I still like Dick. I think there are moments where it gets a little bit too much about him.
For sure.
But his honesty about the arena, you could tell it was like, whoa, this is not what Austin used to be. So all that stuff has been building, get to end the regular season that way. Now let's see if they can carry it forward. Because there are things about that game you don't want to replicate. There are guys that are going to need to show up in a little bit of a different way than they did. But that's the 23 from Rice, 20 from Hunter. And once again, the Longhorns also don't allow the best players on the other team to go crazy.
Yeah.
Now, I guess if you want to argue certainly that Wilson is the best player for Kansas, he does end up with the 23. But after that, Zay, they were able to shut guys down. The fact that Grady Dick ends up with 6 points in that game was huge.
Yo, he hit 2 back-to-back threes where I was like, uh-oh, because he hit the first 3 he hit, it was a 7-point game. It was 51-44. I was like, here we go. Then Marcus Carr hit a nice off-the-dribble pull-up. And then the next play, Tyrese Hunter gets fouled and hits both free throws. Like, he had a little span where he had like 6 straight free throws after those 2 Grady Dick threes. But, yeah, I'm with you on the smiles and just having fun, Shad. Dylan DeSue looking at the camera after his and one finish. It seems like every time Timmy Allen takes a charge, he smiles about it because he knows he just kind of baits guys into running them over. You know, he just gets in really good position. And Timmy Allen, you think, oh, this guy, he only look about 6'4" right now. I could take him and he'll cut you off. And he's really good about falling, but not looking like he's flopping, even though you know he's going to fall. Mm-hmm. He's great at that. One of the best charge takers in the nation. And those are things that don't come up on the stat sheet. But for this team's confidence, Chad, if you can beat every single team in the best conference in basketball, like you did this year in the Big 12, you could beat anybody in the nation. Anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
So they did that. They beat every single team at least once heading into the Big 12 tournament. I'm Coach Terry. I'm preaching that. Like, guys, we've beat every single team in this league. This is easily the best conference in the nation. Not even close. We could beat anybody.
Yeah, that's a good argument. You can beat those 9 teams. You can beat anybody on any given
It's like
day.
he told them that last week. That's the swagger and confidence that they played with on Saturday. And yeah, you're going to need all that and then some, because this is what the tournament's about. Like, a lot of teams have made it multiple rounds, maybe not being as good, but just being confident and hot at the right time.
And also, if Texas can lead with their defense like they did in this game, that's so huge tournament time. Again, back to just the way that team was acting and interacting in the game. The play where Timmy Allen takes one of the charges and slides on the floor, and they all walk over there and they kind of look down at him. And then one of the guys grabbed his feet and rearranged him, like straightened him up before they picked him up. Like, they were just having a blast on Saturday. If you're a Texas fan, to see it and know that it's at Kansas's expense, that had to be great. Now, you also need to know that if Kansas gets their chance to return the favor in Kansas City,
they're going to bring it.
They're going to come at you hard in a few days. So the Longhorns will need to be ready for that.
And no, we beat TCU at Texas. Somebody trying to challenge me. I watched every game. Don't try to check me. I'm the wrong one. Don't try to check me on that. They were down by TCU by 18 points and came back and won that game. 79-75. I'll give you the score. Look that up. That's right, too.
Yeah.
Try to check me. Don't check me this week. This is the week. It's postseason basketball right now. It's getting serious.
Zay's in the tunnel right now.
I can't wait. This is the time of the year. I love this time of the year, Chad, because this is what dreams are made of. This is what we always remember. It's one of the funnest times of the year. Madness tournament. It's going down. And let's discuss this Big 12, the all Big 12 teams all just came out and stuff, and the coaches pick, but I got a lot of deja vu with Jaylen Ford not winning the Defensive Player of the Year. It's just, it gave me that vibe. I don't think it was as extreme because Defensive Player of the Year is a huge reward. And I think Marcus Carr deserved first team for sure.
And that happened.
Sir'Jabari Rice deserved Sixth Man of the Year for sure.
When you said Jaylen Ford, I thought, wait, did they not give Rice Sixth Man of the Year?
Yeah,
Please.
They had to give that to him.
Okay, good.
He's the best sixth man in the nation, yet alone the Big 12.
So where's the crime for you?
Sir'Jabari Rice is a second team all Big 12er. Gabe Kalsher at Iowa State, they were not good the second half of the year. He was not good. He was up and down all year long. He didn't deserve that.
So Rice was named third team. You think he needed to be second?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Damian Baugh, I don't think he's a second team player either. I think if Mike Miles didn't get hurt and Jamie Dixon's squad, they lost some games, they won some games when that happened. But I think Damian Ball's getting a little bit too much credit for that. And guys like Emmanuel Miller didn't even make the list, which is a joke because I think he's better for that team than Damian Ball is, even though Damian Ball had the better game against Texas. So I don't know. It's all subjective, but Jerome Tang, Coach of the Year, I'm with that. Okay. Westlake's own KJ Adams, Most Improved Player of the Year. I'm with that. He barely played at all last year, and he started every single game for Bill Self's club and was really good in majority of them. But, Kevin McCullough, third team, he was all right. I don't think he was a third team all player, So it is what it is.
Player of the Year, Jalen Wilson, you all right with that?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. He was incredible.
Yeah, the Sir'Jabari Rice, it feels like, so they gave him sixth man. They also put him on the all-newcomer
that ain't enough.
The all Big 12 all-newcomer team, and I guess they felt like that would be enough. I would agree with you, though. Probably needed to be second team. Maybe he can use that as a little bit of fuel going in. You can check all that out at Big12Sports.com if you want to see the all Big 12 teams. Again, Longhorns ready to play Thursday at 6. They will take on the Bedlam winner. That game happens on Wednesday to determine the Longhorns' opponent. Up next, we'll get into a little NFL Combine. What'd you think of Bijan and Roschon? We'll talk about that. Plus, the Freak Show provided some big-time numbers in a couple key areas. Also, coming up in the crap bag, I'll give you a review of UFC 285. I definitely got my money's worth. This is The Horn.
Chad and Zay.
Oh, that's so sad. That song started, and all I thought of was, sounds like a Richard Marx tune. And I'm right, aren't I?
You're right, yeah.
Oh, my God. What's it called?
Angelina.
That
era where you just make a song about a woman's first name.
Darn right. Darn right. Richard Marx, who I believe is still married to Daisy Fuentes, I think.
All right.
I think they're still together. Richard Marx getting us started today. There will not be much Richard Marx-like music discussed this week on Thursday. When we get to Thursday at 2 and the album swap, it's going to get very heavy this week. Not only am I still going through the Wu-Tang Clan solo records, so this week it is GZA and Liquid Swords. Oh, this better be a good record because I love the name Liquid Swords. And then Zay's going to be checking out the Body Count album from Ice-T. He may never speak to me again after Thursday. We'll see. We'll see what he thinks.
I've heard one song already. I love it.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's such a crazy idea, but man, there's some wonderful intensity on that record.
The song that I heard, KKK Chick. But it's definitely not chick. I just don't want to get kicked off air.
Oh my God. I'm telling you, it is one of the most raw, we don't care albums that's ever been made. We'll get into that on Thursday. We will not play a lot of Body Count for you.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find instrumentals.
We will try to keep our jobs on Thursday. But a lot of basketball obviously on the board. Texas beating Kansas last game at the Moody Center. We went through some of those all Big 12 team announcements. Jabari Rice, in Zay's opinion, and I would agree with him, probably deserved that second team nod. And he got a third team nod, but at least they gave him the sixth man of the year. At least they got the obvious one there. Also, we started the show, and we'll mention it throughout the show today. Rest in peace to the great Jeff Onoveros. And not only thoughts going out to the Longhorn family, the Longhorn baseball family, Longhorn fans, but you folks up in Round Rock that love the Dragons. Jeff Onoveros, a very important name for a lot of people. That was so sad to hear over the weekend. A lot of stuff coming up. We'll talk with Joe Cook of Inside Texas at 105. Longhorn baseball did drop 2 out of 3 to Cal State Fullerton. Close games over the weekend, Zay. You could make an argument that a sweep could have been possible. We don't want to do too many ifs and buts, but they couldn't make the plays. Blew a lead in game 1, won game 2, and then almost came back and figured it out yesterday, but ultimately they dropped 2 out of 3. Tough start for Texas baseball so far.
Yeah, definitely a tough start for especially their standards, but this wasn't no Augie Garrido Cal State Fullerton team. This was a team that could have been beaten, but we know that this squad is going to take a lot of lumps throughout the season due to their youth, and this was just another one up in Cali. But hey, Chad, what did I just call? What was that song's name that I just told you? What did I just say?
You said some Angeline or Angela,
yeah,
something like that.
Okay.
That's what you said was a girl's name.
Okay. That was right.
You were right?
To call me right.
Okay.
Okay. Angelina, maybe that.
You didn't have Richard Marx fans on you, did you?
No.
You got to be careful. It's an intense group.
Yeah, it looks like he has a cult following.
Those Richard Marx fans. It was one of the great mullets of its time, though. He had a very put together white guy mullet going on.
Yeah, it was solid.
Yeah. No, he had that going on. That dude is he wrote some big time songs back then and sold a lot of records. All right, let's get into some NFL Combine talk. Zay, last week we knew that Bijan Robinson was going to impress in the interviews because he's Bijan Robinson, and he did. And the NFL Network folks were gushing about him all weekend long. And then Sunday was when we finally got around to the workouts. Did you get to see Bijan in the workouts? And if so, what'd you think?
Impressed.
Yeah.
Impressed. I mean, for his size that, he measured in at, and to run the 40 that he ran and just to look as smooth as he did with a lot of good backs. Like, this running back class is really good.
Yeah, I like him.
Bijan, I think, just solidified that he should be the number 1 taken. I know we talk about it every week, even though we love the combine. At the end of the day, it's what you do on that football field. And as many tackles as Bijan Robinson made guys miss this season, you gotta know that maybe some team might take a chance on him. I wouldn't be surprised there. We still know the value on running backs isn't what it was, like, during the Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith days, but Bijan Robinson, he's going to be a good player no matter where you take him. It's just about finding that right fit and how quick it goes for him. But yeah, I thought he was impressive, and we knew that was going to happen.
If you missed those numbers, so 5'11", 215 is where he ended up on the measurement. 4.46. His first 40, he slipped and ran a 4.47.
Yeah.
Oh my! He slipped and faded. He slipped and kind of faded off to the left a little bit. Unbelievable. 4.46 was the best time. 37 on the vert, and then a 10.4 on the broad jump. Y'all have heard me talk about it. Anytime you're over 10 feet on the broad jump, you are a freak dog. That is incredible, landing something over 10 feet. And then in the workouts, Zay, just the effortlessness. Everything looks so simple, and sometimes I always love the phrasing when somebody says someone is a great hitter of the golf ball or something like that. This dude is a great catcher of the football.
Oh, because it shouldn't be that easy.
The way he makes it look, catching the ball. Some of the guys make it look physical and make it look like a very physical act. Bijan makes it look simple, and I thought Daniel Jeremiah had the great word for it. The way he frames a football sometimes, the way he catches it, and just that little the two routes I love on running backs, just the quick little – just a quick little kind of, wheel route or not a full wheel at all. That's fine. But I mean, as you're going just a little out route quick, or you're going to that route across the middle, they call it a Texas route or whatever. Those are the two routes I like. And Bijan did both of those so well yesterday.
So you're telling me he has great hands, right?
Absolutely.
And maybe should have been utilized more as a receiver.
Not maybe.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yet we were throwing to a guy who supposedly had have a broken hand, Steve Sarkisian.
I wonder how long it would take you to get to that today.
I'm sorry, you set it up. You threw one of those lobs that we saw Marcus Carr and Tyrese Hunter throwing into Sue and this past weekend.
Why in the world would Steve Sarkisian tell the media that Xavier Worthy had a broken hand for the second half of the season?
Don't tell us that.
Why would he need to tell us that? Why would you?
For his sake and how he was getting just obliterated on social media, I appreciate for Xavier Worthy's sake, because now people should probably be like, okay, I feel for him. But back on Steve's part, why are we throwing it to him so much then?
Right.
Why are we taking so many shots with him so much, Steve?
Over and over in the bowl game, watching drops happen and you're still throwing him the ball. He's got a broken hand?
Yeah. What was he showing y'all in practice? Like, I know in practice, people, that's how you get those reps in the game, because you got to prove your worth in practice. So was he looking like Chris Carter in practice? And then on the field, we just saw what we saw?
But see, then I got to say, wait a minute, you're not repping to him in practice, are you? He's got a broken hand.
True.
What are you doing? Why would you throw to a man with a broken hand in practice? What are you doing? I don't understand. This is not like a linebacker with a broken hand that maybe you throw a cast on it or something.
Stevie. But back to Bijan.
Yes.
Yeah, he makes it look so easy, so fluid, and again, just at that size. Did you see LaDainian Tomlinson talking about him? He loves him.
Oh, does he?
Oh, he loves him. He was comparing him to himself and stuff, and saying that the Bears might want to look at him at 10. And yeah, it was cool to see. I just love when guys who played that position, a lot of people, Jeff Howe included, compares Bijan Robinson to LT, and for LT to go out and say that shows how good Bijan is and can be.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where the fit is, and watching these running backs. Nowadays in the NFL, fit is crucial for a running back. Where do you end up? What system do they run? How are they going to utilize your skills? And coming up in the flex segment, we'll mention, Deuce Vaughn. How does a guy like that fit into somebody's system? I thought he looked good as well. But Bijan looks good.
I wanted to see Deuce run that 40, though. I get why he did it.
Yeah.
At 5'5", he might not. I get why he did it. I feel
him. By the way, Roschon's numbers, if you missed that, Longhorn fans, 6 foot even, 219. Obviously, we knew he was a little bigger than Bijan. 4.58 on that 40, 31.5 on the vert, 10.2 on the broad jump. Somebody is going to get a really good football player here, Zay. We knew that. The leadership that comes with it. Can't wait to see where he fits in, because that guy can do everything.
Everything. Yeah. He did everything. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he was a former quarterback and was able to go to running back, and it was so easy. It was such an easy transition. It shouldn't have been that easy. It really shouldn't have. And I know these GMs are going to look at his numbers and, compare him to all the other backs. Again, Chase Brown out of Illinois, he looked good. Gibbs, he looked good out of Alabama. Talk about somebody who could really catch the ball and do multiple things. And his 40 was amazing. But, Roschon Johnson, whatever team that gets him, it's going to be a flat out steal because just how he carries himself on and off the field, being one of those guys, hey, coach, I don't mind playing special teams for you on both sides. It doesn't matter. Kickoff, punt return, rover, whatever you want me to do, I will do that. And that's what's going to keep him in the league and probably make him a huge favorite among the coaching staffs and that front office. So, yeah, I think Roschon Johnson, he did well. And, yeah, he's just going to be a steal for whoever takes him.
Yeah, one of our texters commenting on the whole Xavier Worthy story. You still targeted him. Yes, exactly. It's
wild,
very confusing story.
It's wild, Steven.
Have to walk through that one. So yeah, maybe the questions will be there. It is the start of spring practice today. That's one of the first stories that I know the media will be talking about. We're 40 days away from the spring game, by the way. So we'll talk some combine today. Bijan and Roschon both looking good. I'd say all 5 Longhorns looked really good and have a chance to be drafted. And I think it's Bijan, obviously, that would have the opportunity, if he gets drafted in the first round, that will break the curse from, it's Vince, right? Last offensive player to be drafted in the first round for Texas. I think it's Vince Young.
Damn, really?
I think that's right. I'll double check it, but I think that's that. We know the offensive lineman thing's been going a while.
Right.
But I believe Vince was the last offensive player drafted in the first round. I think that's right. Have to double check that number. Draft is on the way in only 52 days from today. Got a lot of stuff on the board today. Coming up at 1:05, we'll get back to the Longhorn discussion with Joe Cook of Inside Texas. His thoughts on the baseball team and what's going on with them so far this year. They come home for 14 in a row. Going to get some home feel and get to sleep in their own beds and all that to try to figure out what's going on before they get to the rest of their schedule. So maybe that'll help them out. We'll talk to Joe coming up, obviously talk about the basketball team and Bijan and Roschon at the Combine at 1:05. Up next in the crap bag, let's talk UFC 285. One champ got choked out and the other one did the choking. Next on the Horn. All right, this is Chad. Let's talk a little Underdog Fantasy. Easiest place to play fantasy sports. You got the tournament about to crank up. It's championship week this week, so conference tournaments, followed by the big tournament next week. All kinds of options to put pick'em games together. NBA, mix that up. You got baseball season about to fire up, and they're already in spring training, and you can do pick'em games there. Hockey fans, you can do pick'em games. You just pick whether your favorite player will have a higher or lower stat total in the game for your chance to win big. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build that pick'em entry, and if you get them all right, you win. I told you last week you could even do pick'em games involving UFC cards. There seems to always be one of those coming up on the weekend, so you can check that as well. Get it on your phone. Double check those rivals picks as well, and also look up the pick insurance option, which will get you a better chance to win. Sign up today with the promo code HORN and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. And don't forget to register with my promo code HORN to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Must be 18 or over and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. It's the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. Get you a pick'em game going today at Underdog Fantasy.
Chad and Zay.
Ugh. A very 80s song here. This is the Cars, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Kind of a signature voice there on Mr. Ocasek, Rick Ocasek. I think he's left us. I think Rick Ocasek is dead now. The Cars and Richard Marx get us started. If not, I would have just put him. Yeah.
Yeah, if he's not, he ain't got much time left.
Yeah, no, he might want to get things in order. I'm sorry, Rick, if I did that to you. I believe he is. I believe he's gone, though. The Cars and Richard Marx getting us started today. We hope you had a great weekend. Texas men all over Kansas. Texas women all over anybody they're playing right now. This time it was K-State that they beat. All the adversity they faced throughout the season, they still end up with the number 1 seed. Again, swept Oklahoma. I don't know why you're giving Oklahoma a trophy. Big 12's got to stop that when they get to this new version and maybe the scheduling, changes a little bit. Then, you got to figure those things out. If you don't have to give away 2 trophies, I don't know why you do it.
They don't deserve a damn thing.
What are they doing? What is that? It's real. They did it in football a few years ago, too. The one I never understood in football, TCU Baylor, that year in 2014. TCU won a game, like at the end of the year. TCU wins a game and they give them a trophy. I'm like, well, wait a second. They won the game. I think that's what it was. They got the trophy. Baylor ultimately won that game in Waco. So Baylor wins, they end up tied. But they won the head-to-head. The team that lost the head-to-head doesn't get a trophy.
Yeah.
They didn't understand it. I don't understand that. If the Oklahoma game tipped earlier this weekend, just don't give them a trophy yet. If you get a trophy, we'll give it to you in Kansas City. That's it. And then once it played out the way it did, the Longhorns should have known when they win the game in Manhattan, it's all theirs. All of it. There's no other secondary trophy. That's so stupid. We like to gripe and bitch and moan about participation ribbons and stuff. I think that's a Big 12 version of it. You're just giving them something for participating at that point.
Yeah, it's pretty weak.
Texas beat them twice.
2 times.
Real simple. Why have them play twice if it doesn't matter? That would be my question to the conference. You set it up, and we all love it. I love the fact that the Big 12 plays everybody.
Yeah, very unique.
And everybody plays a home and home. That's awesome. Well, then it needs to matter that they got whipped in Norman and then whipped in Austin. Apparently it doesn't matter. Yeah, they're tied. They're co-champs. Stupid. That is dumb. So dumb. Longhorn
fans. That ain't even the crap bag, y'all.
Longhorn fans, I'll say it on your behalf. That's not even the crap bag today, but I'll say it on your behalf. You need to have that trophy all by yourself. We've talked basketball. There's a lot of football, obviously, coming out of the combine, where Bijan and Roschon looked good yesterday, where the quarterbacks impressed over the weekend. C.J. Stroud certainly did a lot to impress people.
Anthony Richardson, that boy athletic.
And Anthony Richardson.
Athletic.
Maybe, I don't know if he's the freak of the combine, because Nolan Smith of Georgia might be the freak of the combine, but Anthony Richardson was right there. We'll get to some of his numbers as well. Impressive stuff. Right now, though, let's get to another freak in the crap bag, shall we?
Chad's crap bag.
Crap bag. If you need an easy way to remember it, just think of a bag of crap.
Brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. I admitted it on Thursday or Friday whenever I broke down UFC 285. I am a hopeless John Jones mark. I almost hate how much I love him sometimes. But John Jones is the heavyweight champ now, kids, and it was impressive. In 2 minutes, he choked Cyril Gane out.
Damn, choke out?
Choked him out. Little guillotine choke, in tight quarters up against the cage. And at first it looked like John didn't quite have it underneath the chin. And then all of a sudden Cyril tapped. And it was over. So John gets the heavyweight belt. Did I think he needed to fight for it in his very first heavyweight fight? No, I didn't. And this does speak to the heavyweight division in certain ways. But now let's lay this out for you. John's the heavyweight champ. That's his 15th win in a championship fight. If you didn't already think he was, solidified as the greatest of all time, he's probably now the greatest of all time. But what's next gets really interesting. He basically calls out Stipe Miocic. Stipe, guy from Cleveland, won the title a few years ago. You may remember the name. Stipe is to some, the greatest heavyweight UFC's ever had, because he's the only guy that's ever won the heavyweight belt and defended it 3 times. That's how weird that division has been over the years. 3 defenses is the most anybody's ever had, and it's Stipe. And Jones basically calls him out and says that he may want to fight him at Fight Week in July. Jones took basically no damage in this fight Saturday night. So this could be Jon Jones against Miocic. And whoever wins that fight gets tons of cred. Either Jon beats maybe the greatest heavyweight ever. Now, Stipe's up in the late 30s, early 40s, but still, he's still a badass. He gets that win. Or Stipe Miocic becomes the first human to actually beat Jon Jones in a fight. Because Jon has 1 loss, but it's garbage. It's like some stupid rule violation that was a no contest. But it wasn't an actual loss. Just like the no contest with Daniel Cormier. Nobody counts that as a loss for Jon Jones. So that may be on the way in July. If you are interested in the crossover quality of Jon Jones, you may have to start paying attention again. And oh, by the way, please, Jon Jones, if you're out there, please no more mess. Please no more away from the cage stuff. Please no more drug tests. Please no more bad stuff.
Jon Jones, do what makes you successful, bruh.
Now, Jon is, and also here's the thing, too, Zay. Jon's talking a lot of spirituality right now.
Okay.
And I want to believe him.
Like Mark Adams spirituality or like?
No, just the basics of, thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and his power. And he's got a fiance now.
Okay.
Got a relationship. Things have stabilized.
Okay.
That.
I just want to differentiate the two.
Yeah, a little different.
Just making sure.
And I want it to, at least I hope it's different. I want it to be real. I want it to be really, I want it to be legitimate for him. He had the family there. Chandler was there. And for people that don't know, he's got 2 brothers that played in the NFL, and that's an extremely talented family.
Damn, how athletic are they?
They were there and hugging and celebrating, and I loved it for Jon. Let's hope it stays consistent. So that was one champ that choked somebody out. The other one got choked out. Valentina Shevchenko, who I love watching, and she'd had, 5, 6 title defenses in a row. Alexa Grasso chokes her out. She was down in the fight. Valentina was winning this fight. I don't think there's any doubt about that. At least 2 rounds to 1, maybe 3 rounds to none. And then she gets choked out, has to tap. One of the reasons I love UFC so much is, and MMA is just the different ways you can lose. You make one little mistake and it's done, and you have to quit. She got into the choke at about a minute to go in the round, and you realize, oh, this is done. If she gets anything here, she's going to have to give up. So that was good. There was a couple other things on the card that I thought were entertaining. So it was worth my money this time for UFC. Congrats to Jon Jones.
So you even think it's worth your money, even though it's a quick fight like Jon Jones one?
Yes. As long as it's definitive, that's all I'm looking for.
Okay.
All I don't want is boring. I don't want a boring fight. If you go 5 rounds in a championship fight, nobody ever throws a punch, that's when I get mad.
Yeah, because you talk about all you got to do is make one mistake. Oh, boy, that swung on Jon Jones and missed. Then Jon Jones turned around and grabbed him and took him down. That was it. And he just kind of
2 minutes in,
tired him out, got him in that chokehold. It's a wrap.
Yeah, so I enjoy watching both of those things. I love watching a great fight back and forth that goes forever, but I also like watching those quick moments. I don't mind that. 25 seconds domination, that doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. As long as it is a definitive win, dominating win, I love watching that stuff. And those 2 on Saturday night, I had to watch because one went one way, when one goes the other. One wins, one loses. But those are the kind of fights that I love watching. So UFC 285 delivers. They've got more coming pretty quickly here in the spring and summer if you are into the fights. All right, coming up, we'll talk to Joe Cook of Inside Texas on 3.com. His thoughts on the basketball team looking that good. His thoughts on Roshan and Bijan looking pretty good at the combine, but also his thoughts on this baseball team. What is going on as they lose 2 out of 3 to Cal State Fullerton? The good they can take out of it maybe as they come back for 14 in a row at home. Also coming up in our flex segment at 1:30, those 2 teams we wanted to see face each other did not face each other in the playoffs, and now they are both out. We'll tell you how it happened and what's left now in the basketball playoffs. Stay with us. It's The Horn. All right, let's go hour number 2 on this Monday. Hope you're having a great start to March. We get to championship week. Longhorn men beating Kansas over the weekend, setting up a number 2 seed. They also got the exact help they needed with a Baylor and Kansas State loss. So they play 6 o'clock on Thursday. Texas women get the number 1 seed. They win the regular season title. Friday, they'll play at 1:30. They play the winner of Tech and K-State. The men play the winner of Bedlam, Oklahoma State. In case you didn't hear, Big12Sports.com if you want to check out all those brackets. Obviously, we talked Combine as well. Bijan and Roshan and the show they put on yesterday. And yes, Texas baseball dropping 2 out of 3 at Cal State Fullerton. A lot of stuff on the board. I'm Chad Hastings. Isaiah Collier is here. He's ready for championship week. He's pumped about it. He's also a little upset that Jabari Rice got 3rd team Big 12. Come on, conference. What are you doing? You can't watch Jabari Rice and realize he's a 2nd team player?
Jabari Rice was so much better than Gabe Kalsher this year.
Come on.
That's a joke.
Come on. He certainly looked good on Saturday, did Jabari Rice, leading Texas with 23 points. To get into that and some other Longhorn stuff, let's get to the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. It's our normal Monday visit with Joe Cook of Inside Texas and On3.com. Joe, how are you?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's that busy time of year, and it's a lot of fun.
Man,
yes, sir, Joe.
It really is. I know you were over there covering the start of spring practice for the football team. We will get to that. Let's work our way to the good stuff. I'll start with the bad stuff with the baseball team. Give the fans a thought. What would you tell them right now about 4-7 and dropping 2 out of 3 at Fullerton?
You know, one thing I've noticed is aside from that Vanderbilt game, the Sunday game up in Arlington, there really haven't been any clunkers in the other 10 games. But, you know, in those other 10 games, there's still been 6 losses. So it's been, you know, a real up and down year to start, especially with a really young squad. What there's still going to be a lot of evolving, whether it be roles, whether it be batting order, whether it be the pitching staff. There's still a lot of moving parts for this team, and that's something that we weren't really used to in these past couple of years. Everybody on the previous 2 teams, 2021 and 2022, you kind of had an idea of who was going to be in what role. This year, it's still a little bit in transition. I don't know off the top of my head how many different lineups David Pierce has thrown out there, but it's been quite a few. So, you know, I think we're going to learn a good amount about this team's resiliency in the next couple of weeks. The schedule is kind of packed as far as game volume with, let's see, you got 5 games this week and I think 5 games next week. But the quality of opponent, it does go down a little bit. There aren't any SEC teams coming in. There's, I think, Mercer, I think Camel, I think Manhattan. You know, these are a few low major teams that are making their way to Austin. These should be winnable games for this team, and that's really important to, you know, help them get back on track and get a little bit of momentum and confidence early in the year for them before they start conference playoff big with, I think it goes A&M then Texas Tech or Texas Tech then the midweek at College Station. So real important stretch, and a stretch where they need to win a lot of games.
Joe, for this basketball team, the regular season is over, and it couldn't have been better on Saturday, beating a really good Kansas team that's looking for a number 1 overall seed by 16 points. And even though Timmy Allen and Marcus Carr only gave you 6, what Tyrese Hunter and Sir Jabari Rice did, 23 for Rice and 20 for Hunter, that's huge for this time of the season. And with those 2 losses back-to-back, Baylor and TCU, you need a game like this for Rodney Terry and his ball club going into the Big 12 tournament, because you need to be on that momentum streak. And the fact that they beat everybody in the Big 12 at least once, you got to love that going into the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I heard you all talking about it earlier. It's the best team the best conference in the nation, and Texas didn't get swept by anybody. In fact, they swept a few, I think 3 teams. So really great year. You know, you have to give a shout out to the seniors who stuck around and who really carried this team in the midst of all the various Chris Beard stuff that was going on. As it pertains to Saturday, you know, I think if you watch that game, you'll note that Texas basically dared Jalen Wilson and DeJuan Harris to basically score 60 points. They were, pretty tough on KJ Adams. Bill Self's a guy who's going to create some shots for Grady Dick, and he did on a couple of occasions, but it wasn't falling for him, and he wasn't really getting open. Kevin McCullough was kind of, he had an off game. So I think Rodney Terry said, hey, if Jalen Wilson is going to score 23 and, DeJuan Harris is going to not reach double figures, combine that with the rest of the game plan, that's a game that we can win. And it worked out really well. Kind of conversely, the guys at Kansas was, I guess, content to let get theirs did. Tyrese Hunter coming on strong at the end of the year, that's huge for this team. Just so, some pressure is taken off of Marcus Carr as far as, a few different ways, a few different methods. And then Jabari Rice just continuing to be Jabari Rice, sixth man of the year, very obvious, a guy who just does so much and almost the limited amount of playing time that he does get. So just a really great win, really important to lock up that 2 seed, not have to play, earlier than they would have wanted to. And also you get the advantage of facing a team that's going to have played the night before, and that always helps. So really, really good there. And, that's the highest finish in the Big 12, I think, in the 10-team era, and the most wins in that same era. So really great year for Rodney Terry, the seniors, and the entire program.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you thought of the bracket there, Joe. Obviously, they play the Bedlam winner first, but after that, they may have to take a tour of the state of Kansas, kind of like they did in the regular season, going back to back there. It would be K-State and Kansas if the seeds hold. What do you think about their chances in Kansas City of maybe getting a couple wins or more?
Yeah, I don't think any team really wants to see Oklahoma State right now. But, you have to balance that with the fact that no team really wants to see Texas right now. I mean, if you're on Selection Sunday and you're that 15 or that 14 or that 10 or that 7 that sees Texas in your bracket, you're not feeling good about making the second weekend. So Texas is that team that no one wants to see, but I do know that Oklahoma can jump up, but I feel like Oklahoma State's been a little bit more consistent throughout the year. And then, you may have to end up facing down with Kansas State again. They've got 2, first-team All-Big 12 players. They got a great point guard. But, you try to emphasize all the stuff that worked in that second matchup in Manhattan and just forget completely about that first one in Austin, because that was the only real clunker. And obviously it goes down as the only loss at home this year for the men's basketball program. So I think you feel good about it. I know that the Big 12 tournament is not terribly important for a team that already knows that it's going to be a 2 or potentially a 3 seed. But also you have to remember, and this is what I always tell people, that these are high-level athletes. They don't go to these events just to participate. They go to win. So if you're going to show up, you might as well try and win it. But I think you also have to admit that, hey, getting a couple extra days to go home and rest and recover, it's not the worst consolation if they don't end up cutting down nets in Kansas City.
Yeah, you could also look at it both ways, Joe. Baylor, they lost in the Big 12 tournament to Oklahoma State, ended up winning the Natty. Then Kansas last year ended up winning the Big 12 tournament and winning the Natty. So you could do both. But let's go to spring football. You got a chance to talk to Steve Sarkisian today in first open practice. And what stood out from your notes, Joe, is the fact that Sark just plain said Xavier Worthy had a broken hand for a majority half of the season. And first thing I thought about was, why the hell were you throwing it to him so much? And I know a lot of Horns fans were thinking the same thing. If the guy has a broken hand and we're giving them or going to him so much and you see that it's not working, it doesn't make much sense. So why would Sark come out and say this now?
It's a really good point, a really good question. Sark's been in the NFL. He knows that, whenever let's say a wide receiver only gets, 10 periods done out of the whatever 24 it is, he goes down as questionable, and he's got to announce it as questionable. It's required by the league. That doesn't exist for college football. A guy could be questionable, a guy could be doubtful, a guy could be out, and we don't find out until maybe the day of the game. And he's got no requirement to let us know, and I get that from his perspective. And also to his credit, he mentioned today, like, I don't want opposing teams maybe targeting that injury. If he's able to play, then, that's something that opposing teams don't need to change their scouting report to maybe affect what we do. So I get that, but Xavier Worthy kind of became a very polarizing figure last year as a result of this. And granted, when you got a broken hand, and this is what Steve Sarkisian mentioned, when you got a broken hand, it's tough to catch football. That I completely understand, and I do give a lot of credit to Xavier Worthy for, he could have said something himself in the era of NIL, social media, all that stuff. He could have come out and said, hey, by the way, I'm going through this issue with my hand, and that's why it's not working out so well. But he didn't. So I do give him a lot of credit for that. And, he was one of the first players out there on the field today, showing up for practice. At the same time, we saw that there was enough deficiencies in Xavier Worthy's game that weren't just related to the hands that last year to note that, he's got to get it going. And maybe that leaked over, whether it be physically, mentally, whatever it is, and that's understandable. But you got to wonder why, is it a Xavier Worthy thing? Is it the rest of the wide receiver core thing that there was nobody else that Sark felt comfortable playing as much as he did, in Worthy's potential place, even with that injury. So I guess the good news is that's in the past, and Worthy is now going through spring practice and going through it like a man on a mission, and what's going to end up being probably a contract year for a player who very likely fancies himself a 3-year player.
Yeah. Before we leave this topic, the quote that would drive me nuts if I'm a Texas fan is this one. Quote, I felt like he was the best option for us. Okay, wait a second. You felt like the best option at wide receiver at Texas was a guy with a broken hand in 2022?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Wow. Joe, that would stagger me if I was a fan today.
It would also maybe stagger me if I was still a member of that wide receiver room from last year.
That too.
Who's back again this year. And I know a lot of the shape of the offense probably changed when Isaiah Mayor went down for an injury last year. And, there's nobody on this team that provides the same level of a combination of speed and skill like Xavier Worthy does. But, yeah, what is that? And I think that was something that we did maybe notice in real time, and now that we have a little bit of background to it, they ran a bunch of 12 personnel for a reason, and you could have run a bunch of 11 personnel with Jatavian Sanders, but they didn't feel like they had 3 wide receivers, so they only put 2 on the field, and one of those 2 happened to be Xavier Worthy with an injured hand. So I think we saw the effects of it in real time, but it doesn't seem like we knew the reasoning behind it in real time, and we just figured that out today thanks to Steve Sarkisian and his injury reporting policy.
Wow. Joe, I saw that you put out the injury report that Sark said today when he was at the podium, and one that just sticks out is Maalik Murphy. Still he's injured, and obviously, Keelan Robinson and Jonathan Brooks, which means for Cedric Baxter, that gives him more opportunity to show what he could do. But man, back to Maalik Murphy. How is he still going through? I'm guessing that's the ankle injury, or is it something different?
Yeah, that's a great question. It sounds like it's still the one that bothered him back in high school. I think it was suffered during the state championship game in the tail end of the 2021 season. And, it limited him in the spring of last year. It still limited him some in the fall, but, he did still move up to the backup quarterback role, even with that all going on last year. Now, he's not complete. It's an odd situation because he's not completely out of uniform. There are a couple of guys who, go through drills and then, they go through stretch, and pretty much right away they take their helmet off and go to a portion of the practice facility that's got weights and stuff for guys rehabbing injuries. He's still, and granted, I think this is a plus more than anything in the credit to Murphy, that he's still hanging around watching the quarterbacks go through drills and seeing, what he's getting the mental reps. But at some point, man, you really want someone like him to start taking the physical reps and the more things that are hampering him, especially with the talent at the top two in the quarterback room, at least as it was shown today. You want to see that guy get on the field and prove his worth as opposed to just, standing around and not doing much.
Talking with Joe Cook, Inside Texas on 3.com, and again at JosephCook89 on Twitter if you want to give him a follow. Joe, did you get to check out Bijan and Roschon at the Combine? What'd you think? And we haven't talked to you since the defensive guys went as well. 5 different Longhorns. I thought they all looked pretty good. What was your assessment?
Yeah, I don't think Bijan was going to run the 40 in Indianapolis without knowing that he was going to run a good time. So as soon as we heard last week that Bijan planned to run the 40 in Indy, I was pretty optimistic that there was the first number after that 4 was either going to be another 4 or a 5, and that's how it worked out. We've watched enough Bijan Robinson to see that you don't need to know how fast his 40 time is to know that he's a great player. But if any NFL front office, for some reason, and it's, wisdom about running backs these days, which I think is, still wisdom nonetheless, if they had questions, that answered it big time. And, he goes through drills, does everything, magnificently as he normally does. I think he solidified – he was already a first-rounder, but there's no way anybody's dropping them on their boards after that week. And I think that's why he's not going to do much except be a smiling face Thursday at the Texas Pro Day. With Roschon, I think he put together some really good numbers. I think, Daniel Jeremiah and a lot of the other guys there were offering him a lot of praise. And, the only real detriment to Roschon is just his short track record, and that's because he operated as 1B to whether it be Keontae Ingram or Bijan Robinson for his career. So definitely a guy who's going to find his way onto a team. I think I think Keandre Coburn and DeMarvion Overshown did what they needed to do. I don't know if they were going to really elevate themselves into something special. Those guys have always kind of seemed like they're on the way towards being day 3 guys, maybe really early on day 3. But I thought Moro Ojomo made himself some money. He put up some good strength numbers, put together a really good 10-yard split on the 40, good broad jump, stuff like that. And remember, this is someone who's still pretty darn young. I don't know if he's even 22 quite yet. So he's someone who I think showed a lot during his Combine showcase. And, I thought that maybe he was one of the guys who'd be flirting with that late day 3 and maybe very highly paid as it comes to undrafted free agents go, as an undrafted free agent. But I think he may have done enough Thursday and in tandem with a good day or I think he may have done enough last Friday in tandem with a good day this coming Thursday to where teams may be thinking about spending a pick on him just because of all the, intangibles that he does bring to the table. And plus he had a really good year. I mean, second team all Big 12 with some good defensive linemen. He's bounced around so many different roles on that defense, and he played tackle really darn well this year. So I think he and Bijan probably helped themselves the most of the Longhorns who were up in Indy.
Joe, is there anybody on this coming pro day that we didn't see in Indianapolis that you expect to get out there and just try to improve their stock, even if they have a stock at all? I mean, I know Deshaun Jameson, he's one of the first players that comes to mind. Is there anybody else besides him?
I think it's going to be him. I think, he was a little bit snubbed going to not getting an invite to Indianapolis. He's going to post some fantastic athletic times. He's one of the most explosive athletes on the team, or was this past year, and he can also offer you a lot in the special teams part of the game. So I think, I doubt that Roschon and Bijan, neither of them need to really do anything. DeMarvion Overshown may try again, get a better opportunity at some of the different times at a familiar place. But it's definitely Deshaun Jameson for me as someone who is going to have to make the most, because this is his opportunity. This is his Combine. And I think drills for him are really going to be important, just because, he has all that explosive athleticism, but the drills part, the football player part, is what teams probably want to see a little bit more of. And I think he'll be able to showcase that pretty well. But that's kind of it. I mean, Anthony Cook obviously is going to give it a go. I think that he's, if he had Deshaun Jameson's athleticism in addition to as good of a football player he is, man, he would already have been at Indy. But I think he'll give it a go. But outside that group, it doesn't seem like there's maybe old Daniel Trejo gets a few punts in and
there it is
and gives it a shot. But that's you thought you were done talking about him. No, I'll bring him back. But I think it's Deshaun Jameson who's really got to make the most of this upcoming pro day.
Yeah, and for people that missed it, when Stacey Dales of NFL Network asked Bijan, "Hey, what are you going to do at the pro day? You going to do all this stuff again?" He's like, "Nah, I'll be there to support the guys." Once he got those numbers in Indianapolis, he let them know that he'll be there to support them this Thursday, but he will not be taking part in all the activities. That is Joe Cook, Inside Texas on 3.com, at JosephCook89 on Twitter. And it is underway, Longhorn fans. Spring practice gets going, and there's already a crazy story for you to talk about. Joe, we always appreciate it, man. Have a good week, and we'll talk next week.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
There you go, Joe Cook. And again, if you missed it, the first big story of the year, in addition to some of the injury stuff that Zay was asking Joe Cook about, Steve Sarkisian told the media that in the back half of the season last year that Xavier Worthy was playing with a broken hand. Quote, he was in a cast for about 8 weeks roughly, so to get him back out there practicing full speed was awesome. He also said there were days in practice where we purposely didn't throw him the ball just to take some of the pressure off of it. And we had a texter that was texting in. Maybe this was Sark's way of trying to take pressure off of Xavier Worthy from the criticism that he was getting during the season. But that's a timing issue, Zay. You would have had to do it then, right then. And you would have had to let everybody know as you sat him for a couple weeks.
Yeah, because you could do it.
To let him rest or
yeah,
something.
The season's over after the Alamo Bowl where he showed that he really had a broken hand then with those huge drops, like wide open passes. If you make Quinn Ewers say, "Dadgummit," which that's not what he said, but if you make him do that, and we know how Quinn Ewers, he's very a quiet guy, then it's serious. And those drops that he had, tell us then. Tell us then, because you saw that he was getting killed online by everybody. Like, we came in the next day and we talked about Xavier Worthy from changing his number and saying, man, what we saw of that game, that ain't it. That ain't it. For a guy of his caliber, that ain't it. It makes a lot more sense now, but then it goes back to Sark. You're in charge of the play calling. You could have mixed it up more to put less pressure on him.
Yeah.
Instead of by going at him all the times that you did, which didn't work out.
Yeah, and I'm interested to go back and listen to all the back and forth with the media because the story I'm reading here, and this is from KXAN, says, when asked why the injury wasn't disclosed, Sarkisian said he and his staff didn't want opponents to find out. I get that part of it, but the most logical question would be, why are you throwing to a receiver with a broken hand? Why? And then, in a way, he explains it and says, to say I felt like he was the best option for us, and to what Joe just said, if I'm another receiver in that room, Zay, if I'm one of the two guys from Indianapolis yesterday, did we watch Bijan and Roche? We just talked about it.
Roschon Johnson would do anything for the ball club. The man literally said, I don't want to play quarterback. If y'all don't need me there, I'll become a running back. So he'll go catch some passes for you if you need him to.
Roschon, Keelan Robinson, obviously Bijan Robinson.
Like, they barely gave Jordan Whittington the ball this year.
The tight ends, I don't understand. Yeah, right. If you're those guys, if you're back from this team.
Underneath stuff, drag stuff, quick slants, just get the ball in their hands.
Wow. That is absolutely crazy. All right, so first day of spring practice, and we find that out about 2022. Now we've got to unpack all that discussion. Let us know what you think on the Specs text line, 337-3776. 40 days away from the Texas spring game. Up next, let's get you a Flex 30 segment. Stony Point and San Marcos out of the playoffs. We'll tell you how it happened, plus some local guys showed up at the Combine. We'll tell you how they looked on the Horn.
Chad and Zay.
All righty. Yeah, that's right. You're darn right it is, Stephen. Stephen Piercy and the gang. It's Rat from back in the day. This is the first Rat song I ever heard. Round and Round.
Why they call themselves Rat with 2 T's?
Well, because it's badass.
All right.
That's why. I don't never heard the story of why the 2 T's, but yeah, they had all kinds of there were rats in this video. Yeah,
gross.
Had to have rats in the first couple videos. Milton Berle was in their first couple videos. He was somehow connected to the band, and he was in the early part too. Never saw Rat live. I always wanted to, especially the tour where Poison opened up. So you had Rat and Poison in the same.
Solid.
Yeah, I should have seen that show. I didn't. Rat, the Cars, and Richard Marx.
Did the main singer go, you know what? We need rats in our video. Let's go down to the Jacksonville Jaguars facility and see what they got going on.
I think they did. Yeah, I think they were in Jacksonville. Gonna see how that was
Somebody
going.
on the Specs text line last week said it was 1 rat, Zay. That's 1 too many.
One's a problem.
A huge problem.
If I'm in the NFL.
Yeah, they got kinfolk.
And
they got mom, pops, whole types of fam. That rat, you just saw that 1 rat.
And also, you're going to have guys, think about it. You're talking about a football team. So some of these dudes are really, really big, right? But they can still be freaked out.
Yeah.
You get the wrong player freaked out by a rat, you're going to have a lot of your stuff broken. Now, some of them grew up in the country and may have seen rats, and they're not freaked out. Some of them may have grown up in, like, New York City or other cities that have a bunch of rats, and that's not going to freak them out. But there's enough of them that grew up in, like, a city environment, and they're, like, 300 pounds, and you don't want them going crazy if they see a rat.
Yeah, well, if I go in the country, you could get your mind right like, I'm about to see some ish.
Right.
I could really see some stuff. I'm going to be on my P's and Q's, head on a swivel.
Or if I'm in a New York subway.
Yeah, if I'm in a New York subway, I could really see something. Not at an NFL facility, Chad.
I'm walking into the facility.
I'm trying to get taped and a rodent's jumping across the table and stuff. I can't have none of that. I can't be watching film trying to worry about Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, and I got rats running around, snickering, eating cheese and stuff. I don't need that in my life. I got too much to worry about, Coach.
I would think if you're at an NFL facility, there's 2 things you shouldn't be seeing every day. 1, rats. 2, a receiver being thrown to in practice if he's got a broken hand. Sorry, I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry. Longhorn fans, I'm sorry for that one.
Oh, man.
That was uncalled for. But I would just ask the question. What would people be doing to my Aggies today if this was their story?
They'd be killing them.
What would they be doing to anybody? Oklahoma, Clemson, Bama, anyone. If you found out from the head coach that second half of last season, remember that receiver we threw to too much? Yeah. Remember that guy we always went to? Yeah. Remember the guy who had some troubles and had some drops? Yeah. Broken hand.
God, that sounds bad when you put it like that.
Wow. That's crazy.
I know Casey Kane had that brutal drop against Iowa State. I remember that. I remember screaming in my pillow when that happened.
Right.
Before I came over to do the post-game show with Cameron Parker, Buck, whoever it was that week. And even that right there, I'd still have confidence to throw him the ball a little bit more instead of go overly throwing to a guy with a broken hand.
And that's the psychology of that. I'm a receiver. There's nothing more important to that situation than the 10 digits involved here. Yeah. How do I feel about my hands?
I don't know who made the ultimate decision for Savion Red, but if I'm Savion, I get it now. I get it.
Yeah.
They throwing at this guy with a broken hand. I can't get no touches. Like, remember Savion Red going crazy against Oklahoma State on the sideline? Mm-hmm. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. And
if you know that your teammate who's getting all these looks has a broken hand and things aren't working, I'd be a little pissed off too.
Yeah, that is crazy. Somebody just texted, that's who's leading our team with exclamation points. Man, that's a crazy story. Texas 40 days away from the spring game. Spring practice begins today with a bizarre bombshell that nobody saw coming. And Steve Sarkisian served it up for the media and all you fans today. Very strange stuff. We'll continue to talk about that story. Also, let's get you a Flex 30 segment here. 2 teams we wanted to face each other. Both ended up losing to the same team. Let's get you that story.
Flex ATX for the best high school sports coverage. Listen to the Horn and go to FLXATX.com. Flex 30 is brought to you by Brain Vault. Brain Vault is a revolutionary and patented mouthguard that has been proven to help reduce the risk of concussion. Visit BrainVault.com and join the movement.
All right, so Zay's done some detective work for all of you that might be wondering, geez, what's going on with San Antonio Brennan? I know you guys said they were going to be taking on Stony Point. They did beat Stony Point 57-43, and then they went on to play San Marcos. Congrats to the Rattlers for advancing past Warren, but then San Antonio Brennan lays it on San Marcos 82-54. Zay, for the people wondering, what does San Antonio Brennan have? What do you have to tell them?
His name's Kingston Flemings. His name's Kingston Flemings, and put up serious numbers against Stony Point and San Marcos. Against San Marcos, he had a 30 ball, and then he was giving Coach Thompson's team, which hell of a season to Coach Thompson and the Stony Point Tigers. Definitely very proud of my dog, Antoine. He did a terrific job. Mm-hmm. But, man, Kingston Fleming, who's just picked up an offer from Jamie Dixon and TCU today. So the offers are going to start coming in. Yeah. He's not ranked. He's only a sophomore, and the shots that he was hitting were unbelievable. Just Steph Curry range, the confidence. He was dunking the ball, getting into the paint. He's a good passer, and they got guys around him that can hoop too. So, yeah, shout out to San Antonio Brennan. They put on a performance in which they had the home court advantage because they're in San Antonio.
Yeah, they'll have the help.
They'll have the home court advantage again this weekend when they go to the Alamo Dome, just with the city on their back. So that definitely helped. And, man, Kingston Fleming, I know Coach Terry, we still don't know about what's going to happen with him, and I know the postseason's going to determine that, but if he gets the job, I'd look at Kingston Fleming immediately because he's serious.
So we're talking a sophomore again. So what's that, class of 26, the sophomores right now?
25.
Is that 25?
25.
Okay.
Yeah. Man. Yo, I'll never forget, Chad, which, CC, I'm going to talk about you a little bit, so your ears might be ringing if you ain't listening to the show. Mm-hmm. My sophomore year, Chad, we're playing against San Antonio Wagner. San Antonio Wagner, really good. Best team out of San Antonio, 2007. They had a guy coming off the bench as a sophomore. That was 2008, excuse me. 2008, I was a junior. They had a guy coming off the bench by the name of Jordan Clarkson, who plays for the Utah Jazz now. Coming off the bench.
Wow.
Was not on the scouting report, CC. I don't think I talked to CC for 2 weeks because I was so upset. Clarkson came in and gave us 25, Chad.
Wow.
Oh, again, not on the scouting report. Don't know anything about him.
Dang.
But showed out. And the star was born. I say it all the time. Like, we basically put Jordan Clarkson in the league by him giving us buckets and realizing, you know what? I can hoop. I'm pretty damn good. And his career just took off from there. So there's guys that will surprise you that aren't ranked, that will have a coming out party, kind of like Jordan Clarkson did. Obviously, he had a pretty good, tenure in the league for almost a decade. And then Kingston Fleming, that's the first thing I was reminded of because I kind of heard of Kingston Fleming this year, but not enough to truly pay serious attention to. I'm a believer now. I see it. Now you got to pay attention.
Kingston Fleming?
Flemings. Yes.
Kingston Flemings. Cool name, too.
Yeah, King Flemings, that's what they call him.
King. Oh, that's even better. San Antonio Brennan, one of the teams in the state semifinals, and we'll see how that team ends up. That comes up this weekend, Friday, Saturday, at the Alamo Dome, if you want to go down and check it out. We also had a couple of the local guys we were talking about last week in the Combine. Of course, Deuce Vaughn is a name everybody knows around these parts. Cedar Ridge product, Kansas State star. So it was officially 5'5", 179. That's what the NFL is now recognizing from Deuce. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him run that 40, but he went 35.5 on the vert, 9.8 on the broad jump, and in every drill, he looked like Deuce Vaughn. Zay, for people that watch Big 12 football, that's what they saw. Consistency, that flash, that fire, those feet. And if he gets the right fit in the NFL, I think that's a weapon waiting to happen.
Yeah, I mean, again, go to the tape. He shows really good vision. He did that Kansas State for 3 straight years. I mean, as a freshman, he came in and was already the starter and the main guy and the fan favorite to all those Manhattan fans up there. But he has really good stop and start ability, and I'm with him. You're 5'5". Don't show that 40. Don't get it mixed up right there because he don't got those long strides like the Bijan Robinson would. So
you'd have done the same thing
if I'm his height.
If you're him?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Go look at the tape. Y'all know I'm fast. Go look at the tape.
They'll run it in Manhattan. Let him run it in Manhattan at a pro day.
If he does that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think he's the type of guy when you get drafted for sure on the second and third day, you should maybe do a pro day, but I don't think he has to. Why not?
Yeah, he might not. He may not. You never know. Also, Zay, we talked about your guy, your fellow Bowie Bulldog, Elijah Higgins, going in. I was impressed. So he's 6'3", 235. He ran a 4.54. He went 35 vert, 10.6 on the broad jump. That's a freaky athletic guy, and I love the idea they threw out on NFL Network. Lean him more towards like a freaky tight end than a receiver.
Yeah.
See if he might be interested in something like – because this league is full of guys like that are right in between, that are too athletic for a linebacker to deal with, and they're too big for a corner or a nickel to deal with or a safety to deal with. He's right in that area, man. He is a thoroughbred. When he takes off, those strides are impressive. He's not lightning quick, though, so maybe think about it in kind of some other routes. But I thought he was good.
Who was the Aggie receiver with 3 names that was a wide receiver that got converted to a tight end?
Oh, geez.
Really tall.
Yeah,
big.
Yeah.
Did he come out of Sealy?
Oh, my God. I know who you're thinking of.
But he kind of gives me those vibes.
Yeah, for some reason, all I can get in my head is the only 3 names in my head are the UCLA quarterback, DTR. That's all I can think of. Why can I not think of anybody else right
Somebody else
now?
next time will let us know.
Somebody's going to do it. But
he was like around 6'5", and he was big, and he was really big coming out of high school, but they just couldn't find a position for him. But I'm with that. If you're somebody like Elijah, and he did well in the combine, just being at Stanford these last few years are brutal because his numbers do not stick out at all.
Yeah, that's true. They have not been productive. Ricky Seals-Jones. Thank you. All I could get was DTR in my head. Ricky Seals-Jones. That kind of guy. Ricky would have been probably a little bigger than that.
Yeah, a little taller.
But the idea, yes, thank you to the texters who let us know Ricky Seals-Jones is who we're thinking of. And I love those guys. I love those kind of right in between. Texas fans will remember what was Buckner's first name? What was that guy's name? Let's see now. I couldn't think of an Aggie, and I'm trying to think of a Longhorn. What chance do I have? I can't even do that. But I think his last name was Buckner. The Longhorns had a nice flex receiver. It was a little bit of that same kind of thing, real physical receiver. Wasn't it? It was on the championship team, right? Longhorn fans will help me. We're just asking everybody to text us all the answers today. This is really sad.
Dan?
No, that wasn't
make sense.
not Dan Buckner.
Yeah.
What was his name? It was somebody said Dan Buckner. Was that his name?
I don't know. I remember Dan Buckner playing wide receiver.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different guy, but I think that may be who I'm thinking of. Y'all know who I'm thinking of. But those guys that are kind of right in between what Evan Ingram has become in the league, that kind of guy, a scary tight end that's got skills that aren't just tight end skills. So I'm interested to see if Elijah Higgins gets drafted somewhere. So there's your flex segment. We do it every day about 1:30. Congrats to those guys that went to the combine, and congrats to Stony Point and San Marcos for really good boys basketball seasons. Unfortunately, it ends before they get to the Final Four there at San Antonio. Brendan team looks really, really good, and Zay just told you why. Coming up, Zay will tell us where we're at in society, and we've got more basketball talk coming at 2:05. We'll get a national perspective on these Longhorns, on the Houston Cougars, and more with Scott Spinelli, the host of The Breakdown on the Believe Podcast Network. He's the former BC interim head coach, so he knows his ball. We'll ask him about the Longhorns and more coming up on The Horn.
Chad and Zay.
Very dramatic. Is it called Instruments of Destruction?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's simple to figure those things out. All right, so Instruments of Destruction. Oh God, what's that band's name? Hang on. Dadgummit. The one that's in the documentary and way over the top, and the dude, oh my God, it's not Thin Lizzy, but it sounds like that. What's the name? It's a great guess if I can come up with it, but I can't. I can't think of anything today. I've turned into an old man on a Monday. Tell me who it is.
NRG, Instruments of Destruction, off of the 1986 Transformers animated movie soundtrack.
Wow. NRG's the band?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's not who I was thinking of. NRG. I'm glad it wasn't the band I was thinking of. But, all right. I didn't know there was a band called NRG off the Transformers soundtrack.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Of course, our guy, Chris Bennett, knew it.
He knew it?
Yeah, he knew it.
Of course he did. Well done, CB. NRG, Rat, The Cars, and Richard Marx have gotten us started today. Thanks to Zay for all the great music. Thanks to you. There's Chris Bennett letting us know. 86 Transformers animated movie. You are sick, CB, for knowing that. That means CB must be ready for this new Transformers movie. I think there's a new one hitting this summer.
Damn.
A lot of stuff out there. By the way, at some point, I don't know if it's a crap bag or whatever, but I did see Cocaine Bear. So maybe I need to be breaking that down at some point.
You do.
My wife and I and the son of a buddy of mine. My buddy didn't want to see it. My buddy's wife refused to see it, but we wanted to see it, so we took their son. We took their teenager to go see it. Oh, man.
That's great.
It was exactly what you'd expect it to be. It was funny. It was gross. It was what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Banks did a good job. It's a weird idea for a movie. No way everybody was sober making that movie. No chance. Now, I don't know if they were on coke, but they were on something. They were definitely on something.
I love her.
I love her, too, and the casting was great. And you'll recognize, especially if you watch some HBO shows, you're going to recognize some actors. It's Ray Liotta's last work. They give him a little love at the end, in memory of Ray. So, yeah, there's some really, really good stuff in there.
I was a little Ice Cube.
He's great. I love him, though.
He's a good actor.
I'm a mark for O'Shea. So, anything he's been in, he was in Long Shot with Seth Rogen. I thought he was awesome as the friend there. Everything.
Yeah, Charlize Theron was in that. That's a good one.
Everything I've seen him in, I like. So I was going to dig that. He's good, and they just, they find ways to. The writing was really good, and there's just you almost hate yourself for laughing at what you're laughing at. But they construct it the right way, and it's funny. It's funny. I'd tell you to go see it. Just make sure you know what you're going to see. You know what you're going to see. It's a movie about a bear on coke, and not everybody in the cast survives. That's all I'm telling you.
Shocker.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. There you go. So I did see Cocaine Bear. All right. We'll get to Scott Spinelli with some basketball thoughts coming up. National perspective on the Longhorns and where they fit in right now in his bracket. Right now, let's go where are we at in society with Zay.
Where are we at in society today?
All right, Zay. What are we doing on this Monday?
All right, Chad. So, H.A. McCarron, he plays for the St. Louis Battlehawks. What's his team?
You got it right.
St. Louis Battlehawks.
Here we go. You're back.
Yeah, here we go.
A.J. McCarron.
Yeah, he's going to get it. This dude, after the game, had some things to say about XFL officiating. Take a listen, Chad, and the people.
Uh-oh.
The league's got to come figure out a better way to get some of these calls right. And we had 3 to 4 times in the game where the refs came back to us and said, we missed that call, and apologized. Straight up apologized. And it was times where you can't miss those calls. Like, keep one in the first half, keep our drive alive. They missed a call. The intentional grounding on Jordan right before they kicked the field goal. One, he wasn't outside the pocket. There was no receiver around, and the ball didn't make it past the line of scrimmage. And so they come back. So either he's down, you rule him down, or it's intentional grounding. But they come back after and say, we missed that call. And my thing is, and I want to see the clip, but I think it was helmet to helmet at the end on 4th and 15 on me. And then the dude power drives me at the end. Like, it's some of these things where we got to protect guys too. Like, and I'm not talking about just myself, like, but I think we can't come back on some of these plays and say, hey, and apologize and say, that's our bad. Like, that's things we got to get right. And hopefully, we haven't had a defensive pass interference in 3 games. I've never played football in my entire life and not had one defensive pass interference.
Wow. Who do you think you are, A.J. McCarron? What do you expect? Chad, you literally just say you know what you're getting into by watching Cocaine Bear. If you're the quarterback for an XFL team, you should know this ain't the best quality of officiating you're going to get. And then asking for the roughing the passer and helmet to helmet, you definitely ain't going to get much of that. I get protecting guys, but you got to separate yourselves from the National Football League. And by missing those calls, I do air quotes, missing those calls, you do that. So AJ, I get it. You're locked in. You're emotional about the game. You love football. I respect that about you. I definitely ragged on AJ a couple of weeks ago for crying. Mm-hmm. I still don't think he should have cried. That was a little bit much, but I could tell you love the game of football. I do respect that. But to come out and say something like this ain't the league. This ain't the National Football League where those things are valid. In the XFL, everything that you just said, I'm over here like, so what? And is the game entertaining or not?
You know what we're hearing here? I heard Bama entitlement is what I heard. You got on him earlier for this. This is where I'll get on him for the Bama thing. That's what it is. You play at Alabama, you expect certain things, and his coach at Alabama is the master of that right there. Yeah. Of the occasional weird complaint to try to get calls and try to get stuff. That is funny. Yeah, that turned into a really physical game at the end. They had a brawl of sorts at the end of that game. They threw like 3 players out on the next to last play. They had a couple guys looking like they were, the NWO back in the day.
So you're telling me there's some bad apples in the XFL?
Maybe.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Maybe. I'm saying
didn't know that.
I'm saying there's some raw talent. That's what I'm saying. Raw talent. Zay, that just needs to be polished a little bit. Just needs to be polished. That's pretty crazy. Not only is there raw talent, but there is maybe officiating crews. Although you'll recognize some officials if you're watching XFL games closely. You're seeing guys that you've seen in college and the NFL. They're taking these gigs too. But I don't know if I go that far after the game griping about situations. I watched a couple of the plays he's talking about. I did not see a helmet to helmet on 4th and 15, but I'll admit they showed us that play from outer space. They showed us that play from like way. I never saw a close-up replay of it.
Yeah,
so my bad, AJ.
Yeah, you called it perfectly. That entitlement just coming from Bama and winning over there and playing in the National Football League for as many years as he did. It's going to be a different game. Yo, you lucky you're not on some call your own flags type stuff. You're lucky the Rock even giving y'all refs in the XFL. It's not like these guys are reffing year round. These guys are probably coming out of retirement, probably jump from UIL, reffing high school straight to XFL.
See, that's what I would tell AJ and you and anybody who's not watching all these games. They are actually guys you've seen before, and they got a system set up where they're communicating with Dean Blandino up in the booth, and they're trying to get all the calls right. And, overall, the officiating, to me, it's not bottom of the barrel stuff.
I don't think it is either. But if I'm AJ McCarron, I should know that, okay, this ain't the National Football League.
Yeah.
I should know what I'm getting myself into. And even in the National Football League, they probably ain't letting you know, man, our fault. We missed that one.
Yeah.
That's on me. My bad, dog.
That's the other thing is, if he's right about that part, that's where the officiating crew doesn't need to keep coming back throughout the game. Be like, hey, that was the third one. My bad. My bad. We'll get you back in that second half, AJ. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't start telling them over and over again what you missed. Just tell them to play the game. We don't need a tote board. We don't need that kind of tote board of how many plays you're missing. All right, coming up, let's get into some college basketball discussion. We'll get a national perspective on Texas, on U of H, and on some of the other big teams. Scott Spinelli of the Believe Podcast Network hosts The Breakdown. We'll get his breakdown on where he thinks the bracket is and just how high does he think the Longhorn seed can be. Are they locked in at a 2 for him, or could they maybe creep into a 1 depending on what happens this week? We'll get all that out there. Plus, if you're a Houston fan, we'll ask about the Cougars as well. Stay tuned. It's The Horn.
Chad and Zay.
All right, let's go hour number 3 on this Monday. It's Chad and Zay. I'm Chad Hastings. Isaiah Collier picks out a beat for us to start every third hour. What you got today, Zay?
Fabulous. Can't Deny, featuring Nate Dogg.
All right. Fabulous. Fabulous being the producer?
No, Fabulous being the rapper.
Oh, the rapper. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And Nate Dogg hanging out. Nate Dogg hangs out with a lot of people, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
He's everywhere.
He's the hook king.
It's good stuff. Good. I guess when you become known for that, a lot of people are going to call you up.
Absolutely.
They're going to know your number. All right, fabulous getting us started this hour. Got a lot of football on the board, of course, with the Combine, but plenty of basketball to talk about. Longhorns look really good, beating Kansas, finishing out the regular season. They're the number 2 seed in the Big 12 tournament. Remember, that's a 6 o'clock start on Thursday. To talk some college basketball, we thought we'd get a national perspective right now on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline. He is Scott Spinelli, host of The Breakdown on the Believe Podcast Network, former BC interim coach as well, at Coach_Spinelli. If you want to get your follows together for the tournament. Scott, we appreciate the time. How are you?
Hi, guys. How are you? Thanks for having me today. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. We wanted to get kind of a national look at these Longhorns and some other teams in the region because, we're grinding with them each and every day, the ups and the downs. Let's start with Texas, this 2 seed in the Big 12 tournament, looking like they did against Kansas, but sometimes they've disappointed a little bit on the road. What do you make of the Longhorns as we head into the Big 12 tournament?
Well, first of all, you got to give a lot of credit to Coach Terry and their staff, right? I mean, what they've been able to kind of do here in managing. I mean, obviously, you guys lost a terrific coach in Coach Beard, but with the job that those guys have done in terms of managing this program and the players and keeping it together, admirable, very admirable. With that said, look, Texas is very, very good. They're very deep. I think, as you said it, I mean, one of the things about Texas this year, they've been incredibly successful at home. And then on the road, it's been a little bit, different story. However, I coached years in the Big 12. I understand, the venues there. So you really, I think with the competition from top to bottom in this league, it is very hard to win on the road, period, no matter if you're Kansas, Texas, or whoever it may be. So looking at Texas's team, though, and what they have going into this tournament, look, they're a team right now that I believe can beat anybody, especially on a neutral floor. They're a team that with the guard play, with Carr, obviously, being, as experienced he is, as good as he is, he's had a tremendous year this year. He's been around, kind of forever, it seems. But, one of the things having him out there, he leads this team, and wherever they play and whoever they play in the tournament, I think they got a great opportunity to win, especially on a neutral floor.
Coach, let me ask you this from a coaching standpoint, because now we're getting into conference tournaments, and some coaches like conference tournaments and some don't. Some think it's just kind of a waste of time and just want to get straight to the madness. But we know each situation's different. For those bubble teams, they need every game that they could get. And for teams like a Kansas or a UCLA, even a Alabama, they could probably do without it. What's your opinion on these conference tournaments?
Well, look, I think you just, kind of said it best. I mean, for some teams right now, they're playing for a lot more than others, right? I mean, some teams are playing for bid. If you look at a team like West Virginia, Texas Tech, I mean, that's a pretty much an elimination game in my mind, right? I mean, if West Virginia wins that game, they've got an opportunity not only to beat a Texas Tech team that's, very well respected in terms of their KenPom and ranking, but they also get a chance to face KU again in that second round, which I think would give them another opportunity to quad one win, which I think would really kind of solidify their chances of getting in. So I think any way you look in the tournament, especially in the Big 12 tournament, I think it was personally the best basketball league this year from top to bottom in all of college basketball. So a lot of teams can play their way in. They have great opportunity by being in the tournament. And then other teams here, look, they know they're soundly in. They can only improve probably their seeding. I think Kansas right now is a solid 1 seed, especially winning the Big 12. I think if they get to the semis or even championship or win it, I think they're going to solidify themselves as a 1 seed. But look, you're trying right now to kind of go into this tournament and continue to stay healthy as best you can, get better. Get your team ready for the NCAA tournament if you so are fortunate to be in. But if you're not in, you have great opportunity by being in the Big 12 in this conference tournament.
Talking with Scott Spinelli, again, host of The Breakdown on the Believe Podcast Network, former BC interim head coach. And, Coach, we've got a team, obviously, in the Houston Cougars, and Longhorns obviously looking good. Houston looking really good right now. In fact, Jamal Shed went to a high school right near here, so a lot of folks were following that big shot over the weekend. Tell me about the Cougars. Are they definitely a 1 seed for you? If they did slip up early in their tournament, do you think they're a team that could lose that 1 seed? And how far do you think the Cougars could ultimately go?
Well, I think Houston right now is poised to be a 1 seed regardless of what happens. I think, again, you don't want to lose in the tournament, but what Coach Sampson and his staff have done there, the culture that's been created, they're going to be a team that's going to be reckoned with. I think Houston's thing, again, is just staying healthy right now. Obviously, with Sasser having the kind of year he's had, and when you look at their team, the one thing that's pretty consistent about Houston this year is they're complete on both ends. They're obviously an excellent defensive team. They're a tremendous rebounding team. Offensively this year, they're very efficient. And the one thing, if you kind of wanted to look at 3 teams that I think have chances or have a great chance to advance even to a Final Four, if you look at a team like Houston, their turnover margin, they don't turn the ball over much. They value the ball. Their assisted turnover margin is excellent, one of the top 2 in the league, as well as KU. KU leads the Big 12 in assists per game. So their turnover, assisted turnover margin is excellent. And when you add UCLA in, they're top 2 in their league. So I think that statistic matters. I mean, valuing the basketball really matters here, especially going into the tournament. But Houston's got a lot of weapons. They're complete. Obviously Sasser, we've talked about him. You mentioned Sheed. I mean, what he's doing right now is second in the league in assists. They got 5 guys in double figures right now, virtually in terms of their lineup. I think they've got a team here that really is poised, to make a deep run into the tournament this year, as long as they continue to stay healthy.
Coach, I see that you were an assistant coach at A&M for a little bit. When you mentioned that you're in the Big 12, my partner, he's an A&M alum. I know that's kind of weird being on the Horn station, but we let him live over here. You see this A&M team, and what they did to Alabama, and just kind of talk about your time at College Station playing in the Big 12 and how good you think this current Aggie team is, especially them beating that Nate Oates Bama team this weekend.
Yeah, I know. I think Coach Buzz and his staff, again, have done a tremendous job there. They really pulled it together, right? They had some tough losses, non-conference. They lost to Wofford. They lost to Murray State early on. And, to Coach Buzz's credit and what he did at getting that team and holding them together, I think it's just, you got to tip your hat. But they're a tenacious defensive team. Coach Williams' teams have always been that along the way. Every stop, we've had chances to play against them, so they really get after you defensively. I mean, obviously they've got star power, at different positions. They're going to be a team too. I think a lot of it's going to be depending upon matchups and who they match up with. But as you guys both know, defense travels, right? And in the NCAA tournament, no matter who they play, you're looking at that matchup when it pops up in your bracket. You see A&M. You better be prepared for a hard-nosed, physical, tough-minded defensive team who is a little bit – and actually they're sneaky good offensively. But they're going to be a team that's going to be in the tournament, and I think, they've got a chance to advance in this NCAA tournament this year.
When you look at some of the teams that are going to be battling, you were mentioning a couple in the Big 12, but some of these teams that are going to be battling to get into the tournament, teams that are going to kind of be on the bubble, do you see a couple teams that maybe could pose some threat, that if they can get in, you see them maybe be able to make a run, maybe Sweet 16 or further?
Absolutely. Look, I think you guys know this. When we were at Texas A&M, we had the best 4-year win total in A&M history, right? We were in the tournament every year. The one thing that always, again, concerns anybody is, number one, when you look at who you're playing in that first round, and when you look at the Big 12, these teams have been battle tested. And again, when you look at a team like an Iowa State, who they match up with in the NCAA tournament is always usually the determining factor of how some teams advance, why some teams advance and some teams don't. It's all about matchups. That's the game of basketball. The one thing about certain teams in the Big 12, whether it's Kansas, Texas, they can play different styles. They can play different ways. So it really doesn't matter much for them who they match up with to a certain degree, right? I mean, if you're playing Syracuse, obviously Syracuse is not going to be in unless they make a deep run, but then you're going to have to play against a zone the entire game. So those things matter. But yeah, I think there's a number of teams here in the Big 12. If they get in, I think, look, obviously Oklahoma State, if they make a run, they've been playing, really good basketball as of late. West Virginia is playing really good. I don't know what's going to happen with that West Virginia-Texas Tech game, but again, Texas Tech, is good enough to make a run, especially the way they defend. So I think any number of teams in the Big 12, if they get in and they get the right matchup, could be a serious threat to advance.
Coach, one team that's probably going to be a number one seed that's kind of flying under the radar, and I don't know if it's because they're in the Pac-12 all the way in the West Coast and have those late-ass games. I have no idea, but UCLA, they seem like a team that, Coach gets them there every year, and Jaquez and Campbell, they could really go. Do you think they could get back to being that Final Four team that we saw a couple years ago?
Absolutely. I think UCLA, again, very complete basketball team right here, with Jaquez, as you mentioned, Jalen Clark. Obviously, they got that great backcourt, point guard, Tiger Campbell. Again, they're a very complete team on both ends. They do some things extremely well offensively with that team, but they also defend. That's one of the things that UCLA does do. I think UCLA this year is a team that, again, depending upon matchups and who they face in this tournament, could advance deep and get to a Final Four. And look, when you look at Kansas, Jalen Wilson, here's a guy that declared for the NBA draft his first 2 years, and he comes back after each time he declared with the new rule in the NBA. He's a junior, obviously Big 12 Player of the Year. They've got a couple guys on that roster have already, they're defending their title, right? So Kansas is going to be a team, too, that's going to be, reckoned with here. But, I think UCLA, Houston, Kansas, those are three really strong contenders to get to a Final Four this year.
Talking with Scott Spinelli. Check out the breakdown on the Believe Podcast Network. Coach, I keep seeing North Carolina as a team that is out of the tournament. What do they need to do? Obviously, the obvious thing would be if they win the ACC tournament, they get in. Outside of that, what do you think they would need to do to get in?
Well, they're going to have to pick up some wins here in the ACC tournament. And, you look at Carolina's team, it was last year, the last game of the season, where they actually beat Duke on the road, and it kind of changed their trajectory, their confidence. And I think right now they still have a chance here in the ACC tournament. They're going to have to win, in my estimation, is at least get to the semis and maybe even to the championship. But look, Carolina at one point this year, as crazy as it sounds, they were the number one team in the country, guys. So they've got the personnel. They went to the national title game. They've obviously been kind of a work in progress. Brady, Manick from last year, I think they miss him a lot, in terms of his ability to make the three, although Nance has done a decent enough job. But, this is a team that, again, has the talent. They have the experience. They've got that iron five. There's not a lot of, bench play. At least coach has not played a lot there in the bench. It'd be interesting to see if they have enough depth here to sustain what they did last year and make a deep run into the ACC tournament and then obviously in the NCAAs. But they have some work to do.
Coach, is there any player that's on your radar that could just change the way the tournament looks? We know what Carmelo Anthony did in 2003. That year Kemba Walker had for UConn was pretty crazy. I know those guys are perennial all-stars when they went on to the next level, but is there anybody at this year's tournament that could have maybe that type of tournament that nobody's, paying attention to really excel their team and put them over the hump?
Well, look, I think I'm going to answer that this way. To answer your question, there's numerous players that if their teams get in are guys that you're probably going to hear about a little bit more, right? The big, Stevens kid, the 7-footer from Tennessee Chattanooga. He's as skilled a 7-footer as I've ever seen. Again, it depends if they end up winning and they got to beat Furman to get to the tournament. But he's capable of, just because he's just such a matchup nightmare, he can shoot the three, he can go inside. I think he's somebody they obviously keep an eye on. But the team to really watch out for, guys, here, and a lot of you guys probably don't follow them as much. One of my sons plays at Evansville. He's a freshman in the Missouri Valley. Another one's at Wofford, so I kind of seen a lot of these games. But, you got to look at Drake, right? Drake has got a starting lineup with 4 guys that scored over 1,000 points so far in their career. Their average age in their starters is close to 24 years old. It's like 23 and a half years old. They've got 25, 25, 24, 23, and 20 in their starting lineups, and guys who have been there. They've got a star in DeVries, Darren DeVries, a guy that you made reference to about a guy that can really do some damage here in the tournament. But that's as complete a team as you're going to see. You don't want to be a team facing Drake in this year's tournament with that type of experience, that type of firepower. Obviously, you have the star power, and they're complete on both ends of the floor. So I look for Drake to be a sleeper team here, if they are even a sleeper team, with that kind of firepower.
It's good stuff. That is Scott Spinelli. Check out the breakdown on the Believe Podcast Network at Coach_Spinelli. Coach, we appreciate your time. One quick favor before we let you go. Us folks down here, we're trying to spread the word on Jamal Shead. I hear a lot of people saying Sheed. So the folks out in Manor, his dad works with my wife. They want to make sure we say Shed like in the backyard. So spread the word for us if you can, all right?
You got that. We'll be talking about him. He's quite a player, and I'm glad you made reference to that. Now that's that East Coast Boston accent. But thank you so much.
No, that's it. That's it. It's that country thing. It's that shed like we have in the yards here. So yeah, he's hitting those big shots, man. And as you can imagine, his dad lets my wife know how proud he is all the time.
He should be. He's a terrific player. He's been a catalyst, for Houston this year. Really like that team. Going into the tournament, he's a huge part of it.
Yeah, he's big time. Well, we appreciate your time this week, and maybe once the bracket's set, we'll try to grab you again if that's all right.
Anytime, guys. All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Coach.
Scott Spinelli, again, former BC interim coach, spent some time at A&M. Look at you digging that up. I hadn't even dug that part of it up yet.
Yeah.
I forgot that was
07 to 11.
I feel like I should have known that name.
The AC Law era?
Yeah, I think so.
He was hitting all those clutch shots and stuff.
I think that's going to be right.
Feels right.
You heard it. You see that stat he knew. Most successful 4-year run. He knew it.
I saw it.
That's good stuff. Thanks to Coach Spinelli for his time. Tournament coming up next week. Obviously, the conference tournament's coming up this week, and we'll see. Right now, looking at looking at updated bracketology, Houston, UCLA, Kansas, Alabama are the 4 number ones, and right now, bracketology has the Longhorns as a 2 in the same they would be with a Sweet 16 matchup with Tennessee, and right now for you Baylor and A&M fans, Baylor would be a 2 seed with the Aggies as the 7. So that'd be a second-round matchup with Baylor.
I don't want to see A&M.
And A&M.
Nah, F the rivalry, y'all. I ain't trying to see him. The way they beat up on Nate Oates' Alabama squad this weekend, no thanks.
That'd be a wild little matchup. Scott Drew's crew against A&M.
Yeah, they could have it.
Round.
They could have it. Old Southwestern Conference matchup. They can have that one.
That'd be a wild one. This projection has that out in Denver for a trip to the Sweet 16. We'll see how the bracket rolls out. And again, don't forget the Selection Sunday show this weekend, 5 to 7 on Sunday. We'll have everything laid out for you as soon as the Longhorns figure out where they're going. We'll have part of the crew over at the 40 Acres. Hopefully be able to talk to Coach Terry, get his immediate thoughts on kind of where the matchup's going to be and which region the Longhorns end up in. We'll be talking about that throughout the week.
Yeah, Chad, there was a little bit too much Aggie, bigging up during that segment. I should have asked Coach, hey, Coach, what was it like drinking with Coach Gillespie back then?
You're the one that set it up, though. I'm not the one that asked him that question.
It's all coming back to me.
That question.
It's just all coming back to me, I wanted to make the guy feel welcome and comfortable, but hey.
Hey, you set him. You grooved it right down the middle. Don't be mad at me for that pitch. You threw it.
I'm just saying, y'all know, the people know what I wanted to ask.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like, what was drinking with Billy Clyde like? Could you out-drink him at any moment?
Come on.
How was that?
You're not asking that question, and you know it's impossible.
It's impossible,
no
yeah.
way you're
yeah,
doing
he probably
that.
was like, no way. Had no chance.
Can't do it. Coming up next, why today matters. It is March 6th, and we got some big-time birthdays today, including for one of the best centers that ever played the game. How high is he on Zay's all-time center list? We're going to find out. Don't move. It's the Horn. All right, this is Chad. Let's talk a little sinus and snoring specialist. I've told you about them for a while now, and I've told you that I don't have the serious allergy issues that I had years ago. Now, that doesn't mean I don't get a little sick from time to time. In fact, the last couple of days, a little bit of a cough, a little bit of something, but it's not near as bad as it used to be. I get over stuff a lot quicker than I used to, and that's mainly because my nasal passages are much more open than they used to be. I was 85% blocked. So that was certainly a big part of it. Plus, they got rid of my allergies for good. So generally, all I deal with now is a little bit of, kind of a little bit of a cold thing, a little bit of a stuffy nose for a little bit. It's usually a day or so, and it's moving on out. Unlike back in the day when I used to get 2 pretty bad bouts of the allergy stuff every single year. You know how allergies are around here. They can get rid of them for good. They can deal with your sleep apnea. I had moderate obstructed sleep apnea, and they took care of that. The initial exam took less than an hour for me. They work with most insurance. That allergy test is done without needles, so definitely check them out. Call and set up your appointment today. Tell them you heard about it here on The Horn. 512-601-0303 or go to sinussnoringent.com. It's sinus and snoring specialists. Feel clear, rested, and healthy.
Chad and Zay.
All right. It is Monday. I like that edit. Do I have a chance here, Zay? Because I don't recognize this voice.
Oh, you don't recognize this one? I'm not going to lie. This is the calmest he'll ever be on any song.
Really?
Yes. Doesn't make many love songs. This might be it. Actually, he has two, and they're both classics. There's this one, and there's another one that I'll play sometime later this week.
Huh.
You always get this guy and Ja Rule confused, which is a shame in itself.
I always
whatever.
get this guy and Ja Rule. I think you're thinking of Trey Elling because I don't.
No, you do too.
Does it me too?
You do too. He's done it, but you do too.
DMX?
There we go.
Okay. Yeah.
DMX, how it's going down.
So you're saying it's a rarity when DMX has a love song?
Yeah.
Doesn't happen a lot?
Not a lot. Not a lot.
Hard to bark in a love song? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He even said in the verse, I'm that same dude that you see barking around. I don't think he says it like that, but he says bark.
That's a great way to start the courtship process. Hey, you heard all that barking? That's me. I'm just saying. If you like the barking, there's more where that came from. DMX, great documentary over the last couple years. I think it was a relatively new documentary they made.
Oh, really?
On DMX. That was really good. That was good stuff. I learned a little bit there.
That might be the next album after you get
so?
done with the Wu-Tang.
May send me on a
saga.
DMX?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just got to figure out which one to pick because he had two #1 albums that both came out in 98.
Okay.
So I don't know which one. I might have to talk to Jeff Howe, who mentioned it, about which one to do.
There you go. This week on Thursday for our album swap at 2 o'clock, I'm going to be dealing with the GZA Liquid Swords album, and Zay is listening to Ice-T's Body Count because we talked about that a couple weeks ago, and he's never heard it. So I was like, well, you got to listen to Body Count at least one time in your life. It is fantastic. I actually need to re-listen because I can't recall how fantastic it might be. I'm interested to hear what your grade's going to be on the Ice-T record on Thursday. Thanks to Coach Spinelli for his time. Some good breakdown on college basketball. Texas, a 2 seed in the Big 12 tournament. They will play Thursday at 6. They play the Bedlam winner. Oklahoma State will go Wednesday night, and Longhorn fans, you just hope for a 4-overtime war. And then you'll play the winner. You then would probably get K-State if the seeds hold. And then, of course, Kansas may be the team in the finals. So we'll be talking basketball throughout the week.
Yo, the way Kansas State got their ass whooping Morgantown? Sure, I don't know.
How about you, as the Longhorn fans, getting all the help you needed? I said it on the way out on Friday as like a throwaway. I'm like, hey, you just root against Baylor and K-State. Boom, boom. And it just cleared the deck for that 2 seed for you.
Yeah.
You got everything you needed.
I don't know. Say what you want about West Virginia. Huggy Bear, he all right. He can coach a little bit.
Yes, he can. And how about Iowa? Was it Iowa State that did that to Baylor?
That was.
In Waco, right?
Yeah.
They went to Waco and did that.
Uh-huh.
That was impressive. All right, so a lot of good basketball stuff from the weekend. We've hit football as well. Longhorn spring practice begins today with a weird story we're still trying to figure out. In fact, let's put that in Why Today Matters. Plus, I got to find out how high up on his all-time center rankings a birthday boy is for Zay. Let's go. All right, Zay, today's Why Today Matters is powered by 100% pure diesel. It is Shaq's 51st birthday today. LSU, of course, is the old school.
San Antonio Cole's finest.
San Antonio Cole. That time of year, right? That time of year when state championships are won and legends are made. And Shaq's team did win it all, right?
Yeah.
They went and won it all, San Antonio Cole. I can still, to this day, when I meet someone who saw it, who actually saw them play, their eyes pop out of their head talking about it.
Yo.
His feet for that size and everything. The LSU version was impressive enough. But to listen to the people talk about him in high school and how dominant he was, it still gets me excited to hear about it. I wish I could have seen it live.
My pops said that they went to practice before the state tournament, I think, at San Marcos High School, where my pops was coaching at the time. And when he walked in that building, CC automatically said, yep, that's an NBA player. Don't care what he does with the ball yet. Haven't seen him touch the ball yet.
Yeah.
But that's an NBA player, just the way he moved. Not supposed to be that big and be that athletic. Man, and one thing about Shaq, we know what he does off the court, which good for him. I mean,
oh yeah,
like the endorsements, he doesn't turn down anything, it seems like, but he's very smart with his money. Owns like over 405 guys and owning all types of Papa John's and stuff. Made Papa John's look not racist anymore.
Yeah.
But with that, Chad, people always would say, and this goes back to his Kobe days of him and Kobe, if he would have taken the game like as serious as a Jordan or a Kobe or a Kevin Garnett, he'd be the greatest player of all time. But Shaq was very personable off the court, loved to have fun, rapped, did so many other things. Now he's a DJ and stuff, which he'll be performing at Kansas City for the Big 12 tournament. So he was always wrapped up in different things throughout his career. It wasn't just basketball. Yeah, he was still a Hall of Famer, probably my second favorite center of all time after Hakeem.
Okay. So if you're doing best centers of all time, you go Hakeem and then Shaq.
Yeah, Hakeem and then Shaq.
Okay.
Yeah. I know what Cap did. I know what Bill Russell did during the coal mining, black lung era.
Here we go.
Plus, his owner basically owned half of the NBA, Red Auerbach, and you would get whacked if you made a travel call on Bob Cousy or something, so people were scared of that.
You know, Red Auerbach used to talk to players like Coach Adams out in Love. No, he didn't. I'm just kidding. He didn't. That's not right.
Red Auerbach was actually a little cool with it. He just, he had mob ties. Can't knock those. Can't knock that at all. It's the 60s. It's Boston. I mean, come on.
In fact, we shouldn't speak of it at all.
True. We might get whacked. If you don't see us tomorrow, then y'all know what happened.
That's right. Exactly.
But, yeah, Shaquille O'Neal, that run that he had in 2000 where he almost won every award that you could possibly win, like his MVP season, just Shaq was so dominant, so fast, so quick, so big, so strong. Yeah. I miss him. I miss his playing days.
I do too. It was impressive to watch. And for those people that try to lean on kind of the later part of his career and the bigger Shaq and the less athletic version of him and try to give Kobe, not that Kobe doesn't deserve credit for those 3 titles. He does. I always remind everybody, Shaq was the MVP of all 3.
All 3?
All 3 of them. Go look at his numbers. Go look at his numbers in 2000, 2001, and 2002. He was dominating guys, just dominating people. It was crazy.
And it would take him a while. Like, he didn't give a damn about November and December because he knew his time to come play was March, April, May, and June.
And that's what gets to your point about, and that's what Kobe's problem was with
Kobe
Shaq.
Hated it.
If Kobe could have just gotten him to focus in just a little bit. But yeah, it was just, that was the difference in those 2 guys.
But Shaq would say, Kobe, it's your fault. I know you're cold as hell, so I know you're going to carry us for as many games as we need you to.
Right.
Plus, you want that. Kobe's big thing was proving to everybody he didn't need Shaq. Like, that's why they would get into it all the time, because Kobe would take all these shots and Shaq would be like, hey, dog, we in February now. You can start throwing it to me when we need these big buckets. And then Kobe's over here like, bro, where were you December and November?
Right.
Where I'm shooting 30-something times a game and you're easing back into the groove. While Phil Jackson is just bringing Sage around and stuff.
Shaq's like, I had a Christmas album to make. What are you talking about? I was in the studio. What are we doing?
Yo, Shaq's first album?
Yes.
Classic.
Legit?
Oh, yeah. Shaq Diesel. I love that album. That might have been my first rap album ever as a kid.
Is he the most respected rapper who's rapping athlete?
He'll say he is.
Of all time?
I think it's Dame Lillard.
Okay.
Wow. But Shaq went like platinum and stuff. So
I was going to say,
it's probably Shaq.
Has Dame Lillard gone platinum?
Yeah, but Dame came out during the streaming era, so it's a little different.
Okay.
It's a little different.
Just trying to figure it out. I still haven't heard Damian Lillard rap.
He's good.
Maybe that's an album you need to make me listen to.
Maybe.
Is it called Dame Time? Please tell me it's called Dame Time.
He has about 3 or 4.
Okay.
One's called Dame Dollar. And it's interesting because the first few years in the league, he was kind of going Will Smith, I want to say MC Hammer because he had bars, but he wasn't cussing. You know, both of us, we don't like our raps with, we don't like clean rap. Who likes clean rap?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it, but he was into clean rap.
Yeah, he was into, because of his image, you never know. And then once he realized, I'm a perennial all-star, one of the best players in the league, I'm going to talk how I want to talk.
Nah, I see. Then he got a little unedited.
Yeah, he got a little unedited and stuff. Yeah.
That's all right.
He ain't thugging out here like John Morant, but,
Oh, jeez.
it's good stuff.
Yeah, we got to talk about that at some point, too. Good grief. Weird stories coming out of the NBA at all times. High drama. Why today matters. Happy birthday to Shaquille O'Neal. So, the Longhorn football story is this, Texas fans. Spring practice began today. Steve Sarkisian talking to the media, and for some reason, he decided to tell the media that recently Xavier Worthy has gotten a cast off of his hand. That cast was required because he broke his hand sometime during last season, and he describes it as the second half of last season. Xavier Worthy had a broken hand. He was asked about why it wasn't disclosed, and he said we didn't want the other team to know about it. And then he said that he was our best option as to why you would keep throwing to a guy that had a broken hand, and he was the best option. So that exhale you hear from Zay is him trying to process, just like I know a lot of you as Longhorn fans are trying to process this story today because we're still trying to figure it out ourselves. It's not how we thought we would start spring practice. We just thought it'd be a little bit of an injury report and move on. I didn't think we were going to have to go back and dig through something like this, Zay.
Yeah, I mean, just trying to be positive. Maybe Sark's thinking, man, I got these guys' backs. Just for Xavier Worthy and how everybody killed him on social media about the drops, especially against Washington in the Alamo Bowl. Maybe it's just like, okay, I saw that. Let me go throw this out there. And now these guys could say he had my back. But then there's on the other side, our other receivers, when you go out and say, well, he was our best option with a broken hand, what does that tell Jordan Whittington?
Right.
What does that tell Casey Kane, Brendan Thompson, even JT Sanders? What does that tell those guys?
Yeah, no, me as a fan of the tight end position, that's the guy I thought of. In addition to the running backs we talked about earlier. What about Bijan and Roschon and Keelan? As versatile as all three of those guys are.
Bijan made catching the ball look a little easy in Indianapolis this weekend.
It was so smooth.
A little too easy.
So fluid. Yeah, that is so weird. Somebody texted in earlier, just said maybe less media availabilities. I mean, it's just not something it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Does not make sense. So that is the big story starting Texas spring football this year. Very, very strange.
Like if we were content with 8-5 around here, we wouldn't give a damn about that. But we ain't. We're not content with no 8-5, 5-7 year prior.
Right.
That's not what it is around here.
Yeah. I just think any fan base, any team, I'm trying to remember hearing a story like that for that specific position and that specific thing. To admit that. It'd be like, if your quarterback has a bad second half of the year and you come back the next season to tell us, I had a broken hand through all that. Wait. While he was throwing those picks? Yeah. While everything was airmailed? Yeah. The bad completions and you didn't go to your back? What? What? I don't understand. But in this case, there are multiple options, and you just laid them all out. This one makes less sense than that to me because you have a room full of guys plus versatile running backs.
And no Isaiah Nehor. So you know that Xavier Worthy's role is going to be different with Nehor being out also.
Right. We knew that from the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. No, from step one, that was it. And they continued to go after him a lot. That was already the narrative last year, was some Longhorn fans saying, wait a minute, it feels like they're trying to force the ball to this one particular player. And now you're going to tell him for half the season that particular player had a broken something that is kind of his whole job.
Yeah.
Wide receiver. What does he need for that? Well, 2 hands would help. 2 healthy hands would help. Different positions, different. If I'm a linebacker, we can go through stuff. If I'm a lineman, we all know these guys are tough. They go through a lot.
Yeah, Anthony Cook broke his hand. He played with a little club.
Sure.
That's
right.
fine.
That's possible. What I would ask, Zay, is why not you want to really defend him? You want to back your guy up right around the time you realize it's broken? Sit him for a week or 2. Tell everybody why, and then move forward and develop other receivers. I don't get it. I do not get it. He's not, with all due respect to Worthy and everything it wasn't like he was, I don't know, Calvin Johnson at Georgia Tech.
No.
Was he?
Nah.
I mean, my God. Yeah, that's crazy. If you're a Longhorn fan, we're processing along with you. We are here for you to discuss. Wow, we didn't expect that on day one of spring practice. 40 days away from the spring game, by the way. Circle April 15th on your calendar if you haven't done that. 1 o'clock is the kick time for that, and they'll fire up the Bevo Boulevard stuff for you at 9 a.m. that morning. Coming up next, Stems and Seeds before we get out of here, including some notes from the NFL. Derek Carr getting paid, and he's going to throw on a gold helmet after wearing a silver one. We'll talk about it next on The Horn. All right, this is Chad. Let's talk a little Apple leasing. So easy to get you in the car, truck, or whatever you're looking for. Any make, any model, any car, any truck. It's the Easy Lease plan, and they do it better than anybody. Easiest and safest way to get you a new car. Could be looking at multiple brands. No problem. They got connections all over the place. They'll go do the legwork for you. They'll come back with those options for you, and you'll be paying for the part of the car that you're using. It's a great system. Ask all your questions. If you're like me and you had not been you had not leased a vehicle before and you'd always been one of those that buys and you go all the way to 10 or 15 years and I'm going to go as far as I can, and then you're paying all that stuff at the end just trying to keep the car alive, check out Apple Leasing. Ask your questions. Find out how it works with the Easy Lease. It definitely made all kinds of sense to me. That's why I'm driving a car from Apple Leasing now. 346-9977 is the number. Call 346-9977 just like I did, or hit them up online at appleleasing.com.
Chad and Zay.
All right, about to wrap it up on a Monday. I like the adaptation of one of the greatest theme songs ever. It's fantastic.
Yeah, Jefferson's.
Little Jefferson's hit. All right, who is it, Zach?
Austin native Nelly and the
Okay.
St. Lunatics. Batter up.
Here we go. Nelly. Batter up. That's good stuff. All right, Nelly, DMX, NRG, Rat, The Cars, Richard Marx. They've all been a part of the show today. A fabulous beat to start this hour, both, in description and in artist, because it was fabulous with Nate Dogg alongside, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. All right. So we got all that going on today musically. A couple other notes before we get out of here. A little basketball, a little football, and stems and seeds. Here we go.
No stress, no seeds, no stems, no sticks.
Brought to you by AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. Good grief, Ja Morant. The Colorado police are investigating this Ja Morant Instagram live video story where he is seen in a nightclub, appeared to have a gun. People around him were drinking. They're trying to figure out if he was drinking. Zay, what the heck is going on here? He's on one of the best teams in the West, and he's taking a gun to a nightclub right after a game? What?
The things that Ja Morant has been getting in trouble with this season, it's a serious problem. I mean, this summer he got into a confrontation with head of security. No charges were filed. He also got into it with a 17-year-old kid where he threw up the gun in front of that kid.
Oh, jeez.
In a post-game altercation in Indiana. It was somebody accused him and his crew for, I guess pointing a laser, gun, red dot on someone's head.
Like a laser pointer.
Laser pointer. Then this.
Ugh, yeah.
It's like, bruh, you made it. You made it. You are out the hood. You don't need to do these things no more.
Man, just
be a millionaire. Live like a millionaire. Live good. Be happy. Focus on hoops. You just got a shoe deal. Waving around the heat, dog. Come on.
Yeah, now they're in, so he's suspended essentially for a while.
It might get worse.
They don't know how long he's going to be away from the team. There are those that think he's going to have to be away from the team a long time when they look into that story. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. The NFL notes from the day, Derek Carr goes from the silver helmet to the gold helmet, and he's going to make some gold along the way. 4 years, $150 million with the Saints. $100 million guaranteed, Zay. For Derek Carr?
Yo, man. I don't know about all that.
Hey, let me tell you, Drew Brees will tell you, if you do it right, those people will love you forever. Those people will love you forever. I just don't know if Derek Carr is going to rise to the Drew Brees
Yeah, you're
level.
talking about the most accurate quarterback to ever touch the pigskin in Drew Brees.
Yeah, I don't know if Derek Carr gets to that level. But, hey, God love him for trying. And
that's a lot. I would have said, man, Derek, you asking for a lot, bro. We give you some unlimited gumbo or something, but
they have
$100 million?
That definitely tells you their decision. It also sends a clear message to – is Jameis Winston still on that team?
Yeah.
That sends the clear message to Jameis, right?
Yeah. But now look at all these quarterback situations from Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson. If you're Lamar Jackson, you go to Baltimore, it's like, y'all see what Derek Carr just got paid? And I'm an MVP, and look what he just got paid, and look what New Orleans thinks his worth is.
Yeah.
And y'all trying to shortchange me? Baltimore probably like, damn you, New Orleans.
Oh yeah, they're not happy.
They are not happy with that.
Not happy about that. I do wonder how this makes the Jets feel, though. What are the Jets thinking if they don't end up with Aaron Rodgers? What's their plan going to be? Who do they end up with? That's something to keep in mind now that Derek Carr would be off the market. Also, Cowboys fans, it looks like the reports were true. Cowboys are going to tag Tony Pollard. It's around $10 million for that tag, so if they don't get a long-term deal done by July, he'll play on the franchise tag. You like this move for the Cowboys?
Yeah, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Drop Zeke, keep him.